All right, what's good? What's good, family? Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right, what's going on, family? Give me 1 second. All right. Okay. All right, so give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Never seen that before. That's interesting. Okay. All right, so shalom, shalom, family. I'm getting started. How's everybody doing? Had a great weekend, no complaints. Just juggling a couple of things. Let me see. So shout out to Chris in the building, Dirk Paulin, Yalan, VV Life Story, Dimitri Elder, J Lockhart 25, Royalty Princess, Shalom, Clarence, a new channel, Plus Beats, Sean 105. Anybody else that's in there you want to shout out, hit one. I got you. I decided to do this real quick. I was supposed to do a live stream on Friday. But I was out running errands and everything. And yesterday was the Shabbat. So I just decided, let me go live now since I have a little bit of time to do this. Let me see. This is why I did the quick Google Hangouts joint. I didn't use my XSplit software like I typically use. So, but I'll do that for next session. All right. Let me do this real quick. Let me get started. So shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now, everybody that's viewing. I'm just going to try to do this as quick as possible. Sundays is normally the days that I try to catch up on some stuff, prepare for the upcoming week, etc. You know what I mean? So let's see. Let's do this. Hold on, family. Give me 1 second. I don't have that there either. Okay. Let's see. Oh, not that one. There we go. All right, hold on 1 second. 1 second. Clarence, I knew, yes, I use Linux, but not as my primary OS. I don't use it on this system that I have now. So yes, I do, but not on this session here. All right. Shalom. Y'all hit 1 if the audio and video is fine. Hit 1 if the audio video is fine so I can get started. Hit 1 if the audio and video is fine so I get started. Shout out to Autotomically Correct, Yeshab Awam, Shema, Talmid, K. Israel, S. McGee, what's good? People's like, yo, I'm glad I was able to catch Divine live. Because sometimes I'll be going live late. You know what I'm saying? And I know people, they miss out on it, but it's all good. Let me do this. I think I got this downloaded. Where is it at? Where is it at? I guess not. Hold on. Let me pull it down then. All right, let me do zoom out. Zoom out. All right. So, yeah, I'm just getting set up here. Just decided to go live last minute, so forgive me for all of this. Y'all can wait. All right, you say 1 is good. Somebody says it's scratching a little bit. Feedback or ticking. I don't know. That might be something in my background. Hold on. Let me check out. All right. So y'all let me know, is this better? Do you still hear something in the background? Let me know. It's just static a little bit. Do you have a fan on? No, don't have any of that on. It's better? Okay. Still hear it? I don't know what that could be. Let me see, hold on. Which mic am I using? Let me see something. Hold on real quick. Let's see. All right, let me do this. Oh, can't do that because I changed that here. It's bad. All right, let me fix it. Okay. All right. Let me see. Let me do this. Maybe this will be better. All right, hold on. Some type of interference. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me try something. Let's do this again. Let's see. Let me know if this is better. Let me know if this is better. If this is better, hit 1. If this is better, hit 1. So I can't hear for myself. But if this is better, hit 1. It's better? Okay. So I found out what it was. Got to troubleshoot my mic here. Find out what's going on. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that was happening. That's crazy. But anyway, so I got the Logitech Brio 4K webcam, right? And also got the Razer Siren X. This is typically what I use. I've been using it for a little while since I purchased it recently for my live streams. It's really good mic. But for whatever reason, y'all saying is some kind of static noise. So I switched over to the mic and the webcam, and it seemed to have gone away. So I'll troubleshoot that and get that working. Y'all know I'm in IT, so I'll be able to fix that whenever I get a moment. But anyway, since that's better, we can get started. Shout out to Inside the Nation. He said, easy fix, I can show you why. All right, well, email me, Inside the Nation. Email me, kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. The contact information is in the description. So you highlight me, and we can rap about that, but I should be able to fix it as well. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the type of stuff that I do on top of everything else. You know what I mean? So shout out to Revolutionary Me in the building, Tamar Tucker, Katriel Ben Yisrael, Kylo Yisrael, Yardenia Strong, Marcus Allen. Who else? Inside the Nation. I think that's everybody. Weebrew Israel. If you want to shout out, hit 2. Let me give you a shout out before I get started. Again, my apologies for the delay. I was trying to get set up and trying to get the mic working and everything like that. So y'all got some quality in regards to these sessions. So I'm gonna do a test run. I normally do a test run, but I'm gonna do a test run for next time to make sure I don't have that static again, because I don't want that to hold up the broadcast. You feel me? All right. So with that being said, family, we about to get started. All right. So anybody else want to shout out? Adam Real, Vaughn Parker, what's good? My brother Hassan in the building, what's going on? But yeah, I appreciate that, Inside the Nation. But yeah, you can email me all the contact information, any other kind of information that you need, social media, contact, donations, whatever. It's all in the description. All right. There's also the super chat function for those who asking for that method as well. But let's jump right in. So next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is this Hebrews to Negroes mega conference called the Great Awakening. I was invited out to the conference that's being hosted by Dr. Kenneth Howards and Dr. Ron Dalton. And they are putting together something phenomenal in Detroit. I've been to a lot of conferences before in regards to the Israelite community. I'm not talking about conferences outside the Israelite community. But this conference, the reason why I'm very elated to be a part of it is mostly because of the professionalism that they exhibited in their correspondence. How they put together their informational packets for the event is extremely thorough and extremely professional. I'm gonna show y'all some of it in a bit, but those of y'all who was out in Detroit, and I got a lot of people on. Shout out to my family out in Detroit. My brother Ari Ryder, that's out there in Detroit. The mayor Keith, he's out there as well. I'll highlight him. There's a lot of people out in Detroit that I want to come and see, because I know a lot of y'all been hitting me up since the last couple of times I've been out to Detroit. The last major event that I did in Detroit was back in 2015. You know what I mean? Shout out to Sean Bradley in the building. Salute to you. Joseph Donald, shalom. So anybody that can make it out to Detroit, y'all be sure that y'all are there. I'm telling you, man, I'm looking forward to it. There we go. I think that's better. I'm looking forward to it. And let me go ahead and show y'all some of it so that y'all can get an idea of what's going down. All right. So just give me a second. Let me go ahead and show it to y'all. All right, there we go. Okay. So, as you can see, this is the conference registration packet. This normally goes out to the people who have already paid for the event, who already signed up and registered for the event. All right, so this is the cover of it right here. All right, so they start you off with this intro. Shalom, we are thrilled you're with us as we gather with more than 350 Hebrews to experience the awakening. When dispersed descendants of Israel at every level and role come together in unity, we are at our best. While you're here, we hope you take some time to connect, whether it's with the conference organizers or the new brothers and sisters you'll meet from 28 states and 3 countries. So as you can see, they threw together some statistics here: 28 states, 3 countries, 7 special events, 18 vendors, 17 speakers, 100 baptisms, 20 workshops, 350 attendees. All right. Our goal is for you to go back to your state and country feeling inspired and ready to take on changes and challenges that come your way. Thank you for being part of this wonderful community that pushes us every day to return back to Yah. All right. So you see this thorough list of contents. I mean, general info, what's included: conference check-in, badge and wristband info, Kobo Center, Kobo floor plans, the parking, the hotels, the transportation, the shuttle service, City of Detroit attractions, restaurants, what to bring to the conference, consent for use of photo, code of conduct, dress code, fasting and prayer, conference schedule, schedule by room, schedule by date, conference menu, movie info, landmark theater, panel discussion info, general session speakers info, workshop session speakers info, workshop descriptions and details, concert info, musical artists info, unity prayer service, Shabbat service, the Woke Judah Award, all white banquet, link baptism policies and procedures, the cookout, Belle Isle Park, conference charts, volunteers, vendors infos, acknowledgement, t-shirt order form, and conference survey. So as you can see, this packet is over 100 pages long. And it's extremely detailed, all the way to the minute details, you know what I'm saying, that they've laid out for you in this packet. So I don't know if they had an event planner. I don't know if they have a great administrator at their congregation. I don't know. But whoever put this together, kudos to you for that. Kudos to you for that. Because this took, I know, a lot of time to put this packet together. But everybody that's going, you're going to get this packet once you've paid and registered. You know what I'm saying? They're still looking for vendors too. So if anybody can make it out to Detroit, I put a promo video on this channel already. I promoted it on Instagram. I promoted it on Facebook. So now I'm just going over it before next week, and I'll probably mention it again on Wednesday. But anyway, if you're in Detroit, surrounding areas or whatever, make sure you make it to this event if you can. You can also do a la carte sessions, so you can come in on any one day instead of the whole full 4 days. You can come in on a Friday, a Saturday if you want, or the Sunday for the barbecue cookout, or whatever the case may be. Y'all can definitely come and pay a la carte as well, so that way the price is not too high for you. You feel what I'm saying? So it says the Great Awakening Hebrew Singles Conference convenes awakened persons, spiritual practitioners, educators, community leaders, some of the world's most sought after thought speakers on this subject at the Kobo Convention Center, downtown Detroit, for a weekend of exploration in the areas of education, leadership, character building, professional development, worship, fellowship, opportunities, and networking connections that enables a culture of collaboration. More than 300 Hebrews and their families will travel to Detroit this July to gain access to opportunities that only this unique conference can offer. All right. So they go on to, let you know with the purchase of all event package, your conference admission includes. So if you purchase the full packet, you get the viewing of the movie, the forum panel discussion, the speaker meet and greets, registration bag and all conference materials, all conference workshops, the Hebrew musical concert, the Unity Sabbath service, the white party cruise and award banquet, the family reunion, the conference registration fees, 2 breakfasts, 2 lunch, 1 dinner, 2 receptions, and discounted rates at the hotel. So you get all of that if you pay the package price. All right. They give you the information on how to check in. All right. Here's the badges and wristbands you get. If you're a guest badge, you get that. Staff badge, you get that. Vendor badge, you get that. Volunteer badge, you get that. All right. The blue wristband means that you registered for the full package. The green means you registered for day 2 and day 3. The red means you registered for day 1 and or day 2. And the white means that you registered as a family member or a guest or staff member of the conference. And it gets you into all the events and everything like that. All right. All right. They give you information on the Kobo Center, Convention Center. All right. They give you the floor plan as well. right? So you know where everything's at when you get there, because there's going to be speakers in each one of those areas that you see: 313B, 313A, 311A, etc. All right. Then they give you the general session room, so you can see what that looks like. The first floor layout, parking, all right, the hotels in the area, okay, transportation, they give you that information, all right, shuttle services, attractions in case, since you're there, you want to go do something else while you're in Detroit, okay, restaurants, all right, here's my job right there, Detroit Vegan Soul. I went to that spot. That is a great spot. Great spot. I plan on going back when I get there. All right. It tells you what to bring to the conference: Bible, notebook, pen and pencil, business cards, pack sunglasses and sunscreen, hygiene essentials, backup battery, a sweatshirt or sweater for air-conditioned rooms, casual clothing, medicine, bring your insurance. And also it says, let them know if you need assistance, right? Flyers, publications, newsletters that you have at your ministry, assembly, whatever, additional items. Those who own a shofar, they want you to bring a shofar, and lots of energy and enthusiasm, and enough clothes for 3 days, right? Consent for use of photo, because they're going to be taking, pictures. They're going to be doing a video. I know I'm going to be recording like a mini documentary of the event as well. I'm going to try to record a mini documentary of the event. So that way you get a snippet of that on my channel. My channel probably will only have me doing my workshop and maybe some pictures and a little bit of brief clips of everything else going on. But I will not have a full video recording of the event, because there's somebody already designated to do that. But you'll have enough of it when I upload the video of me speaking with a couple of pictures and some clips, so you can get an idea on this channel of the essence of it. And then you can always go to the Hebrews to Negroes channel and check it out, or Spiritual Combat channel, Michael Israel, go to his channel and check it out as well. All right. Code of conduct, dress code. All right. So hopefully everybody abides by the code of conduct. Otherwise, you're not going to be either let into the conference or you're going to be escorted out. All right. Fasting and prayer, they give you that as well. Information on that, the conference schedule. All right. You see everything here. What's going on Thursday? Community service in the Detroit area. So they're doing an outreach where they're going to help either the homeless or the needy or whatever the case may be. So those of you who want to be a part of that, that should say 12 p.m., but it says 12 a.m. There's 12 p.m. That they're going to be doing that. And then at 6 p.m., they're going to be premiering the movie, Hebrews to Negroes movie, Revelation. At 8 p.m. is going to be the Hebrew forum and panel discussion after the movie at the same place, Landmark Theater. Friday, July 12th is the conference and the workshops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. You have all these different things going down. And it gives you the speakers who are going to be speaking. You'll see them, right? Healthy Hebrews, Morey Asa, Demesi, attorney Elaine Carlis for secular legal rights. Then you have Decoded Imagination by Zion Lex, Return of the Ezer Kenegdo, which is what people translate falsely as helpmate. But that's another discussion. But she's going to give a lecture on that. Only Love Alston, Dr. Kenneth Howard, Defending the Biblical Law, Hebrews to Negroes 2, Ron Dalton. Then at 2:30, you have Rabbi Kweti, Hebrew Migration to Africa, Sharing the Hebrew Faith with Your Family, Pastor Richard Kelly. Spanish Portuguese Inquisition, Benaya Yisrael, Understand Biblical Feast, Pastor Michael Laws, Hebrews to Negroes 3, Ronald Dalton. All right. Then you have the children and youth workshops. So if you got children, bring your children. We're going to have workshops for them as well. And then you're going to have the all-white cruise event on the Detroit Princess River Boat, the banquet dinner and ceremonies, right? The banquet suite is going to be Rabbi Kweti, and then you're going to have the Hebrew family cookout and baptism, all right? It's interesting. 1 to 4 is going to be the Jubilee Praise. 4 is going to be the break. They didn't put me in here, but they have it up here for the room schedules, right? So if you see room 311B, Friday, July 12th at 4 p.m., what I'm going to be speaking on is Awaken Now What, right? So pretty much, we talk about people being awakened in the truth, but then once you have the understanding and knowledge, then what? So what I'm going to do is encourage a community, our community, to get involved in the community, right? Dealing with various things that we need in our community. So if you don't call yourself a nation, which I don't use that term anymore, but I know some people still do. But if you are, then we have to institute things that we need as a functional, autonomous community, right? So I'm going to go over various things such as farming. I'm going to go over things such as politics, how to get involved in local politics, and everything's going to be rooted, health and everything's going to be rooted in the scripture, right? As justification for us to get involved in a community. Because a lot of times, oh, we under the curses and stuff like that. And people just cop out and not want to get involved in a community, yet they have children, right? Yet they send children to school, yet they have a car and a car note, right? Yet they have a house, right? And then, you know, there's certain codes you have to abide by when you have a house, right? They pay taxes, right? They have a job, right? They go to the movies, right? They do various functions in their community, but they don't want to get involved in the community. They feel like, oh, we're going to leave everything to y'all. And it's like, we cannot have that mindset. So my workshop is really going to inspire and motivate our community to get involved in the actual community, so that way we could be the light and we can make a difference, right? So this, you know, from what we teach here at KHM, there's no slouching when it comes to being active in the community, making a difference. You really want to represent what you stand on, you got to put your hand to the plow and put that work in. All right. So that's what I'm going to be doing Friday, July 12th at 4 p.m. at the conference in room 311B. Right. I thought they were scheduling me for Saturday, but Friday's cool. I have no problem with that. All right. So as you can see, they give you everything else breakdown from everybody else, meals that you're going to get. You get breakfast, lunch, and there's going to be a dinner as well. There's a movie landmark that they're going to show you, the panel discussion. You see all the speakers here. The moderator is Dr. Kenneth Howard. And here's the panelists that you're going to see there on the panel discussion. And all these people are also the speakers as well. General session speakers. So here's a bio of each speaker here. All right. Here's my bio, here's Zion Lex bio, here's Michael Israel, Jubilee, Hosanna, Praise Jackson, Moray, Asaye, Demesi, Gloria J. Harris, Dr. Frankie H. Young, Pastor Michael Laws, Only Love Alston, Elaine Carlos, Ronald Dalton, Dr. Kenneth Howard, Pastor Richardson Kelly, and Benaya Israel, all right? They give you the workshop description, explain to you in detail what that is, the Hebrew musical conference that they're gonna have, right? This musical conference, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be on the Detroit Princess Riverboat. All right. They have a unity intercession prayer that they're doing. The Great Awakening Shabbat service, all white cruise, and Woke Judah award ceremony. It's the award ceremony. They're going to be giving awards out. We're going to have an all white affair on the Detroit Princess Riverboat cruise. That is what I'm looking forward to. Right. I love cruises. Right. So that is what I'm looking forward to right there. But it's also an award ceremony. Here's the different awards that they're giving out: Hebrew Ministry of the Year, Hebrew Diaspora Award, Unity Award, Scholar Award, Media Award, Community Award, Music Artist of the Year, Book of the Year, Moray Award, Youth Impact Award, Local Detroit Award, Unsung Educator Award, Matriarch Award, Character Award, Leadership Award, Woman of the Year, Man of the Year Award, Films and Arts, and Global Impact. So on that cruise, they're going to be having a award ceremony, all right, which I think is going to be awesome, and I look forward to it, right? Then you saw about the keynote speaker on the cruise, all right, lake baptism they're going to do in Detroit River. If you're interested in that, they give you details on that. The cookout that's going to happen on that Sunday, they give you the details on that, and there's going to be a DJ provided as well. Plus, it's going to be something to keep the kids occupied, so if you bring kids with you, we're going to take care of that as well, all right? And look at this, they got vegan meat options. You know, so there's no excuse not to eat whatever's being prepared there, all right? They tell you about Belle Isle Park, where it's going to be hosted at, okay? They give you the layout of it so you guys can know what that looks like. The conference charts, they give you all of these breakdowns based on everybody that RSVP'd, all right? Right, volunteers. If volunteers want to come in and assist, if you want to help with the registration, the shuttle bus, accessibilities, the sidewalk greeters, convention center greeters, food preparation, Hebrew kids. So if you want to just come and volunteer, I mean, they will open it up for you if you want to volunteer. All right. So you can still reach out to them if you want to volunteer and be a part of this to serve. If you just want to serve, I know I'm gonna help out as much as I can. But you know, they will always need assistance if you want to assist. All right. It's a volunteer application if you're interested in that. All right. And here's it right here. This is the contact information here for that. All right. You'll always go back through this video and watch it. Here's vendors, gonna have a bunch of vendors that's gonna be there. Vending area, they break it down for you where that's gonna be at the vending area, acknowledgments that they're gonna have here. T-shirt pre-order form. All right. Here's what the t-shirts look like, and they give you the option on how to order that as well. All right. And I think that's everything, 110 pages. All right. So that right there is going to be that. I'm gonna get into what you just seen on my screen in a minute. All right, so for anybody that's interested in coming to the event, all right, those are most of the details. If you want to know how to get in contact or want to get more of a look into or insight into what the venue is going to look like, you can go to the Hebrews to Negroes YouTube channel, or you can go to my previous video that I did where I posted up Dr. Kenneth Howard and Ron Dalton sitting down and talking about the event. So if you're interested in that, in the description box for that video is how you can get in contact with them. All right. So hopefully y'all got some insight. Hopefully everybody, if you're able to, you can come out. You feel what I'm saying? Again, grassroots, that's what I'm about, right? GSO, grassroots organizations. We need more of that in the Black community. You know, so that we can really make a difference, right? And show the impact of what it is that we do, what we stand on, etc. All right. All right. So Plus Beats, I might, if I go live, it's only going to be for my workshop session or maybe behind the scenes, right? So if I have any behind the scenes discussions with any of the panel speakers or just anybody that I meet there, I might live stream those, right? So those are some exclusives that you'll be able to get. But as far as the entire event in general, I believe, now I don't believe it, I know that they already have somebody doing the audio visual that's going to record it and put it together. All right. So I'm gonna try to record as much as I can, live stream as much as I can that I'm responsible for doing or that I'm able to do off the record. You know what I'm saying? So I could post it up for y'all. But this is gonna be bananas. It's gonna be ridiculous. You know what I mean? So you know, the dates for it is gonna be July 11th to the 14th, right? This week coming up, July 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. All right. So that way you'll know Thursday to Sunday. All right. I'm gonna be there all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So if y'all there, you want to catch up with me, just hit me up, holla at me. You know what I'm saying? If you see me, need a chance to speak to me, just email me because I'll be checking the emails that I'll be receiving while I'm at the event and let me know. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to meeting anybody, you know what I'm saying, that supports KHM. If y'all out there, you know what I'm saying, just let me know that y'all out there. You know what I'm saying? Reach out to me on Facebook, on Instagram, email me, whatever. Let me know, hey, Divine, I'm out here, blah, blah. If you didn't get to see me or whatever the case may be, let me know because I want to meet the people. You know what I'm saying? So I have no problem rapping with y'all, chatting with y'all, even if it's every one of y'all if I could. If I have the time, I'll be able to holler at y'all. You know what I'm saying? But don't feel shamed. You know, if you have family, you can bring family with you. You know, if you have children, bring your children with you. If you choose to leave your children with somebody to watch them while you're out of town, you can do that as well. If you have any questions in regards to the event, you can also email me at kingdomharmony@gmail.com and I'll forward it over to who it needs to go to so y'all can get a response. That's about it. It's a 110-page packet, conference registration packet. I mean, they did an excellent job laying everything out. This event is extremely structured and organized, and this is going to be the de facto status quo that we need in our community, right? So whenever there's a conference, I mean, going forward, I'm going to be, you know, by the way they put this together, because I've been to conferences outside of, I've been to a host of different conferences outside of our community, and that typically that's how they put together their packages, right? In our community, we don't really do that often. It's very rare. I've never seen nothing put together like this for one of our community events. So hopefully this becomes a standard going forward and people adopt the standard going forward, and you know, we can go from there. All right, family. So let's move forward in the broadcast. So you said you want to know how much it is. Let me send you to the website. The website is going to be, hold on, let me post it in the chat for y'all to have. Here it is. I'm gonna post it in the chat. Hold on. All right, here you go. All right, there it is. If you want more details on anything, the link is https greathebrewAwakening.org. All right. So I see there's a link right there in the chat, and I'll put it also in the description once this live stream is over. Okay. So there you have it right there. All right. All right. So those of you coming out, I hope you'll enjoy it. Like I said, I'll try to capture as much as I can for those who cannot make it. And going forward, man, this is going to have to be the standard in regards to our community putting conferences together. All right. All right. So let's transition forward, family. All right. So I'm going to touch on next. Let me put it up. Hold on. I'm going to touch on next a video that the brother, Dr. Eric Mason, had put out in regards to Hebrew Israelites and the understanding of Jeremiah 14, chapter 14, verse 2, where it says, "Black unto the ground." Now, I'm a big advocate for people learning the language, whether you just want to get the beginner level, the intermediate level, the advanced level, the expert level. Me, myself, I'm at the intermediate level. And I'm working towards the advanced level with online courses and a variety of different help guides that I recommend to people who's at the beginner level, the intermediate level, etc. Or if you want to, do a refresh in your understanding of the Hebrew, you can. And there's a lot of different things that you can do to get to that point. There's people in our community that teach the language. You can go to them, or you can do it yourself and get the courses and do it at home, or you can sign up for online classes or sign up for a university in your area, you know what I'm saying, that teaches Semitic languages or Hebrew, or even if it's Koine Greek, Syriac, Ugaritic. With me, I'm freshening up on my Ugaritic currently, and on my intermediate and advanced Hebrew, diving into that. It's taking some time because my schedule is busy, so I do what I can. Oh man, that was my daughter trying to get on camera. She's cute. Anyway, so what we KHM we've been doing is putting together these learner language packages for people who want to do the DIY route. And in the previous video, I put the link up for people who want to get the online courses. So if you want to, let's say, for example, take an instructional course online, you're able to do that, where you can interface with the professor. You can go on the forums and interface with your classmates online. You give resources and tools to do so. I posted that link up, and I'll post it again for y'all here. And they go into a variety of biblical languages. They get into the Yiddish, they get into the modern Hebrew, they get into biblical Hebrew, they get into Koine Greek, they get into biblical Aramaic. And everything here, once you pass the course, you get a certification from the university, and you get credits towards higher learning at that university, or in general, that you can carry over to other universities. All right. So the link for that is called https://israelbiblicalstudies.com. All right. So those are for people who want to take that route. I'm gonna post that in the chat here. All right. If you want to take the online course from the comfort of your own home, in case you can't travel to a university, if it's not in your area, or you cannot, actually sit down with a professor or somebody who's an expert in that area for you to learn. Like me, we do a VIP beginner Hebrew sessions that we do in the fall, and it's only beginner sessions, right? Unless people want to go into the intermediate level, then we can, assist with that one-on-one via email, via chat, whatever the case may be, via phone. But anything above the intermediate level, we defer you to, either this course online or other people that we know notable in the community that is at the advanced and expert level in regards to learning biblical Hebrew, and or Ugaritic or Syriac or Aramaic, whatever the case may be. All right. So that's your link right there. If you're interested, anybody that's interested in the language packages, let me know. We've mailed most of them out. We still got about 3 or 4 more that we have to mail out, that I have to mail out on Monday, tomorrow. So everybody else will get the rest of their packages. I mean, we package it in gold wrapping. You get the card that I showed you guys, you know, in the previous session. I showed you guys the thank you card that we get out. We try to specialize it. Thank you card for people who are patronizing us sending out these packages. And this is for the do-it-yourselfers, those of you who have the discipline and the commitment to be able to learn the language on your own at home. You get a full academic course on video DVD. You get a grammar workbook. You get a lexicon. You get an audio help. You get a reference guide. You know what I'm saying? You get all of those things to assist you if you're able to have the time, the commitment, and the discipline to do it yourself at home. It breaks down everything that you need so you can get up and running and deciphering the text for yourself. So those are what those packages are designed to do. Because KHM, we're partnered up with several distributors, we get a bulk rate. So that way we pass the discount down to people who want to purchase the packages. All right. So there's also a lot of help guides as well that I recommend for people who want to get into it. One of my favorites is this book right here. Right. This book right here is excellent. OK. This book is called Biblical Hebrew Vocabulary by Conceptual Categories. All right. This is a student's guide to nouns in the Old Testament. Now, the reason why I love this book is because what it does is that it does a survey of the full lexicon of biblical Hebrew, and it takes words and it categorizes them. So that way, if you want to look up for different words for face or different words for people or different words for snakes, it gives you everything here. Everything is here. Right. And as you can see, categories, cattle. Right. Let me jump to another category. Right. Taste, grains, food and spices. You know, so with me, you know, I strive as often as possible to build my vocabulary. And this book is an excellent help for doing that. This is an excellent resource. If you're trying to build your vocabulary in regards to nouns in a category fashion. So let's say you want to, you want to look up different words for a robe, or different words for altars, or different words for the throat, or different words for birds, or whatever. This is an excellent resource for it. And this gets added in those packages that we send out. Also, what I recommend for people who want to, build up their vocabulary, here's another good resource here. The Biblical Hebrew Vocabulary in Context. All right. This also even has a Hebrew English lexicon in the back. And what this does is that this gives you either the verses without the translations, and then it highlights certain things like here, certain words right here. So that way you can go and investigate it yourself to see what its importance is in the actual exercise. And then it gives you the exercise when you have the actual Hebrew verse, and then you actually have the translation, right? So this is another good guide for people who want to build up their vocabulary, whether it's verbs or nouns or adjectives, participles, or whether it's prepositions, or whatever the case may be, conjunctions. This is a great guide as well. Another good guide is this one here, the Vocabulary Guide of Biblical Hebrew and Aramaic. This is another great guide as well. It gives you the Aramaic words arranged by frequency. So like one good thing for people who get into the language is to study the words that has the highest frequency in the text, because those are the ones you're going to encounter the most, and it makes it easier for you to translate, right? So this is an excellent guide for helping you to do that. It gives you the grammatical value of each of these words. It gives it to you in its context. The lexicon that it has in the back gives you the various things like what weak verbs are. Weak verbs is your gutturals. Whenever a guttural is involved, that's what you get your weak verbs from. In the cow stem, and give you your weak verbs in your nephal stem. Those are things that you learn as you get into the language. For a lot of people who need the tools in order to advance in their language studies, one of the things that I've recommended for people for a while, you can get this from Amazon as well. This right here is a reference guide, and it goes through all the grammatical features of the grammar, and it breaks down things for you. The beginning, this is like for beginners here. But when you want to get into the pronouns, give you the pronouns, your construct chains, which I'm going to get into when we get in Jeremiah 14. And then it breaks this down here for you. So this is something, this is what I used when I went through my courses to learn it on my own, and beginner and intermediate. I use this reference guide. And from time to time, I still go to the reference guide as well. So that's a great reference guide. And some of these items would be added into the Hebrew language learner packages that were given out at a discount. And there's also like maybe about 20 or 30 other books that we may include. We try to customize it based on the request and whatnot. I want to give a shout out to Savaris Wooddial. Thank you for the donation. I truly appreciate that. Again, we want to get the community literate. And the reason why we want to get the community literate is because we want you to get away from dogma, and we want you to get away from stagnant doctrine that has not been vetted by either interdisciplinary studies, which includes the language of the text, the original language of the text, and archaeology, history, comparative studies, cross-cultural analysis for sister cultures at that time, etc. When you start to get into these things, it starts to wean you away from the dogma that you have held for a long time. And we're going to get into one of those in a second, right? So the video that the brother, Dr. Eric Mason, and just so you know, I don't have any hatred for this brother. I believe that he is being as sincere as he knows how to, in regards to attempting to help people who he believes that are in different worldviews other than his. He even says that he loves Hebrew Israelites in the video. But, you know, I think there are some things that are misconstrued in regards to the community because we may not have put out the best representation, diplomatically speaking. So in the video that he made, he was addressing one of the doctrines that is in the community that I implore our community to revisit in the original language. You know, there's people that say they read the Paleo Hebrew. I'm like, okay, that's great, but the Paleo Hebrew, if you're reading, it has to be sourced from something. The only place that I know that you can source the Paleo Hebrew from in regards to biblical Hebrew would be the Dead Sea Scrolls. You have Dead Sea Scrolls that are written in Paleo Hebrew, right? And even the Dead Sea Scrolls themselves, that Hebrew doesn't have any diacritic marks either. And the understanding of the grammar of Hebrew via the Masoretic text, and when you use the Biblica Hebraica Septuaginta, and that is the academic standard. It's sourced from the Leningrad Codex, and it's the academic standard in which the Hebrew text is measured against. And translations, critical edition translations, typically get used for their source material for their Hebrew translations, right? And that's what I had up on the screen earlier, but I'm gonna bring that up in 1 second, right? So in this video, he was going into the language somewhat. He could have just, you know, for me, strictly dealt with the mechanics of the language and then build up with the commentary. So what I'm going to do for y'all is I'm going to go through, and those of you who's on this channel, you may have seen the post that I already put up about it, but I threw together a quick preliminary parsing of Jeremiah 7:14-2. And it's very mechanical. I'm going to go through the grammar features for y'all in a second and post it up. But I would say the first thing to do if you're reading a verse is to try and get into the Hebrew of it if you can, because a lot of doctrines are founded on a misunderstanding of the original languages, because most people don't get into the original languages, right? So I do my parsings from time to time. I try to do a couple every 2 weeks or whatever, just so that I can stay sharp and familiarize myself with the text, and always put to use my knowledge of the language. And one of these, I found a very rare verb stem when I was parsing out Jeremiah 14:2 that I've read about, but I've never really encountered in my own regular parsings, is the pulao stem. And I'm going to show you how it functions within the context of the verse. But another good thing to do is read for context, right? Your contextual analysis. You don't want to go into pretext or subtext. You want to stay strictly within context. And a lot of times people, they do pretext and they do subtext, and then they take things out of context. But you want to situate everything the way it was understood by those who put the text together, all right? And the language and the history and archaeology is the best way to really get knee deep into that, right? I didn't get into my studies to be a linguist. I didn't get into my studies to be an expert in archaeology. I got into my studies simply to reconstruct and restore the pre-exilic ancient Israelite culture and bring it back to our community, because there's benefits that it has that provide solutions to our community. You know what I'm saying? So that was really my purpose, right? And I've garnered enough information and understanding to begin this reconstruction process, right? And distribution process and dissemination process back to the community, right? And to encourage people with this information, allow it to make you, inspire you, and motivate you to be proactive in resolving societal ills. Because the more societal ills we can wrestle away from our community, the easier it would be for us to have a clear-cut connection with the divine. And that is what we strive to do in our spiritual walk, right? But there are a lot of roadblocks that's in the way. That's why we encourage things such as, you know, a more close-knit community. We encourage things such as autonomy and services and goods and products and different things like that at that level. And for me to put the majority of the studies that I do to the test and helping to actually build a real city, right, out here in Atlanta. So these things you can do, get involved in you know, higher learning and education for K to 12, or if you want to bring trades back to the community, if you're a blacksmith, you deal with metallurgy, or you deal in the health field or anything like that. These are things that we need in the community. We need to create institutions. You can't keep saying you're a nation and we don't have the basics that a nation contains, right? So, you know, we have to start to implement these resources and implement these institutions and implement these things so that way we have these services and these goods and these products for the community. So the studies that I do is to promote that direction, for us to be proactive, put our hand to the plow and get involved. And I think the issue is there's a lot of people that get into the community that so-called get awakened in the truth and then stops there. You know, and one thing that I have to tip my hat to Dr. Eric Mason is that he did a lecture on reparations, right? And bringing that subject matter to the Black Christian church, which I think is a great step in the right direction. You understand what I'm saying? So there's people that are for the reparations, and I'm one of the proponents that say, yeah, you know, keep fighting for the reparations, but we can create our own reparations. We have the means of creating our own reparations, right? But a lot of times we like to be reliant on an external entity to do it for us when we don't realize that we're more than capable of doing it ourselves, okay? And that process has to do with a transformation of mind, transformation of character before you can even get access to the material benefits of reparations. You feel what I'm saying? So it's a transformative action that has to occur first before you can obtain the material element. You feel me? So, so that's what I want to say as far as Dr. Eric Mason. Yes, I have some disagreements with him theologically speaking and in regards to some of the things he said pertaining to the Israelite community, but I don't hate the brother. You know what I'm saying? He had a misunderstanding of me going to the conference, which he voiced in the video. And then I made a post, and then he inboxed me, and we you know, I gave my input, but I didn't hear back from him because he's on a sabbatical. But when I get a chance to speak to the brother, which I would love to do, I would just like to know what his initiative is in regards to our community. You know, if the objective is to convert people to Christianity, you know, a lot of people in my community are not interested in doing that, right? Some people may be, but some people are not, right? So if that's what you're doing, you know, if you want to proselytize, then that is going to be a point of contention, right? You know, I'm not out here trying to proselytize to anybody. You know what I'm saying? We put the information out. We do what we do in the community. If people are interested, then we educate them further, and we give them the tools and resources they need to make a more better informed decision on whether or not they want to be a part of the community or if it's not for them. You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, let me play some of the video, not all of it, because it's about 41 minutes long, and I'm not trying to extend the session because we're approaching the hour mark, trying to be done by an hour and a half. So I'm going to try to spend 7 minutes, show a little bit of his video and get through the parsing. And from there, we're going to jump into our oral tradition element, the direct democratic social structure element, and I wanted to get into some divination. So we're going to look at and do what's called cross-cultural analysis or cross-cultural research, which means that you look at two different or seemingly different cultures and you parse through all the customs and, you know, the traditions and the practices and even maybe elements of the language or, you know, geographic locations, environmental factors, diet factors, and you parse these things out and you compare, right? And once you make the comparison, then your interpretation of that comparison is relative or subjective to whatever your studies are. So what I've been doing is doing that with several cultures, right? Whether it relates to Israelite culture or not, just several cultures and looking at these things. And I've been getting very heavy into West Africa. I've been looking into West African cultures for maybe the past 4 years. You know what I'm saying? And I'm mostly intrigued with the Igbo culture. But there's a couple of other ones as well that I've discovered that is pretty unique. And I'm just like, wow, this is interesting. You know what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and get into this. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. All right. So let me go ahead and play this real quick because I've been asked to do something else after this session. So I'm gonna try to do that and squeeze maybe 30 minutes in to do that. But let me go ahead and play this video real quick. Hold on. Okay. All right. Let me do this. All right. So let me do this so y'all can hear. All right. Go ahead and play this out for y'all.
I'm doing a quick live, real quick. So some of y'all can jump on, that'll be great. I got another meeting in about 20 minutes. I want to always jumping on Alex that Hebrew Israelites use. I've been really off. People want me to do more stuff on it. I've just been doing a lot of work. Just actually about something. Before I begin.
Hold on. Forgot to share the screen. All right, there we go.
So I was doing an event in Atlanta like a few months ago, and the Sakari showed up at the hotel. Now, I didn't know they were there. I didn't even know it was the Sakari. So I'm in there speaking to some guys, like, you know, some guys are downstairs, you know, trying to get with you. And so I was like, okay, you know, they was like, the dude was like, ignore that because you got work to do. I had to speak like 2-3 times, so I didn't really have time to go down there and engage. And then they put out a, then they ended up putting out a video saying I ran, like, which is funny because, and then they said I ran and I left out the back of the hotel. I was actually at the hotel with my wife. And so one of the things I found out a bit disrespectful is them cats coming in. And matter of fact, Ron Shields.
Now you'll pay attention to this part that he's about to say, because he never reached out to me in regards to this, and he never watched the entire video that I put out, right? He's getting this from a third party, right?
DivineProspect came too, and I think he tried to, you know, somebody said he called you out or something. I was like, call me out.
You hear what he said? Somebody told him that I called him out, which means he did not go to the primary source to find out what was going on. All right, let's keep going.
Oh, what? Like, don't do that.
I called him out to have a civil discussion, so that way we can have a formal discussion on our differences and build from there. That was the purpose of me reaching out to him, right? Or quote unquote calling him out. right? It was not anything adversarial. It was not anything that was going to be, oh, I'm going to show him off and I'm going to disrespect him. I don't get down like that. So it's obvious Dr. Eric Mason does not have any clue on how I operate the content on this channel or just in general. But let's continue.
You know, so I was like, you know, it's not like an amicable dialogue, but I saw that he had done a video where he kind of walking around the conference and asking people different questions and engaging people. And I was like, wow, man.
So I walked around the conference. So this goes to show he didn't watch the video. When I was first coming in, I was like, oh, Dr. Eric Mason's here. I want to go have a discussion with him. Let me see if I'll be able to catch him. And then I was asking around where, you know, the Just Gospel conference was going to be at. And, you know, people was pointing me to it. So you see everything in the video. Everything is in the video. So I would implore our brother, Dr. Eric Mason, to go back and watch the video. He should have watched it before he even spoke on it, because he's just getting third-hand information, second-hand information, right?
Like I wasn't really, but I found out about that. I was a little disappointed because I sort of, you know, I don't know. I mean,
see, look. So he said I was disappointed because he stopped himself from saying I saw the video, right?
I know he wants the dialogue and stuff like that. I love it though.
He says he knows I want to dialogue with him. He said he would love to talk. I've reached out to him in the past before, right? Even put him in a group when they was going to have this debate between the Contra community and the Black church community. I even put him in a group where we had a group chat. You know what I'm saying? So if he is okay with me having a discussion with him, then he can reach out and say, hey, look, this is my schedule. This is when I'm available. Let's chat. If he would love, if what he's saying is true, if he would love to have a discussion, he could have said so, and we could have did that. I have no problem doing that with the brother, right?
You know, but yeah, I was a little confused by coming to the video saying, y'all sit on, I'll be in the front row. I'm like, okay, sit on the front row. Like,
so he said, I did a video saying I'm going to sit on the front row. So if he can get me the time marker from when I said that, and if I said that, what was the context?
I'm trying to be respectful, but I mean, this video ain't about him. You know, I'm just bringing it up because it's like, you know, I saw some pieces of it.
So he said he saw some pieces of it, which means he didn't watch the entire thing.
It was like, yeah, I was gonna be on the front row, like, and I was like,
I said that. I said that in the video. I was gonna be in the front row, and I did my head and my face like that. That's interesting. I would love the time marker for that so I can address that. So if him or anybody that's part of his congregation or his ministry can send me the timestamp for when I said that and I did my face like that, I would love to see it so I can address it respectfully.
Like I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm not the one to kind of roll. I don't roll like that. Particularly if my wife was there.
I'm not the one to roll up like that, particularly with my wife there. So the fact that you mentioned your wife, why? Why did you mention your wife? This is nothing personal. I don't have anything personal against him. I mean, maybe he thinks that I'm just like, you know, the Israelites that he may see on the street corner that may seem adversarial or want to fight or want to argue. That's not the spirit that I come in. And I would love for him to cite any kind of video where I've approached somebody like that. I would love for him to do that. There's no history of me doing that. Never coming at nobody disrespectful. If there's a public event and a particular speaker is there that I would love to dialogue with, I'm going to come to the public event. I'm willing to pay my money to go and patronize the event and even buy a product like I did with James White, buy a product to get them to sign it, to have a dialogue with them, see when they're available. I conduct myself professionally. You gotta, if you saying I disrespected somebody ever in person, please give a reference to when I approach somebody crazy. I would love to see that reference, because if you knew that I don't do that, then even me being at the conference should not be a concern of yours. If you don't have the time to speak, to say, hey brother, I don't have the time to speak right now, but I'll contact you or have my administrative or assistant contact you and we'll set something up. Done deal. I'm not there to argue you down, chase you down and follow you around. It's not that serious. I came there because multiple people had mentioned to me that you were there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is an opportunity for me to meet the brother and have an initial point of contact, a professional initial point of contact that's amicable. So that way he would be open and be willing to have a dialogue, right? Because I don't want him to go by misconceptions that is plaguing him and preventing him from dialoguing with me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to meet him in person. And it was at a public event. It's not like he was in Atlanta and, you know, he was there just, you know, spend time with his family or do something else private and personal. And I just rolled up at the hotel because somebody said, oh, he's there. I would never do nothing like that. Never do nothing like that. I would never roll up at somebody's house, or if somebody's at a hotel out of town and they're there for personal reason, it's not a public event, I would never do nothing like that. Why would I do something like that? That is not professional. That is not respectful. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know what he had in his mind, why he brought his wife up as if there was going to be something that was like demonstrably, you know, fierce that was going to go on. Like, it had nothing to do with that. And if the brother was familiar with how I conduct myself publicly, he would know that that type of energy was not going to be there. But this is what happens when you get things from third parties. If you get things secondhand, then you don't know this stuff. When you don't reach out to the person and speak to them personally, you just do not know these things. So in this video, I excuse it because I'm like, well, he's just ignorant about me. So it's cool, right? No issue. All right, cool, no problem. But going forward, you know, just look at the material first that you're citing. And then after you watch the video, reach out to the person. And with that, then you can come to these conclusions. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, he did this quick video. He didn't take that route. So this is the end result. And like I said, it's not a big deal. I'm just saying to him that it's just unfair to kind of like present this when that wasn't even the case.
So I had some issue with cats rolling up at the hotel with my wife there.
So he's saying cats rolling up at the hotel with my wife there as if I'm going to his hotel room, as if they're having a private dinner somewhere and I'm coming there to argue with him. It was a conference, a public conference that I was coming to where you was one of the speakers. Your wife had nothing to do with this. Your family has nothing to do with this. This is me touching down and making face-to-face contact with you professionally and respectfully so we can set up a future sit-down discussion. It was that simple. It was nothing more than that. So I don't know where he's getting all this extra stuff from. I have no clue where he's getting this from.
So anyway, that's not why I'm on here. I'll talk more about that later. I'm about to go on sabbatical. Got a lot going on. So I'm about to go on sabbatical. So anyway.
So if he was offended by me coming to a public event or conference and he felt intimidated by that, or he felt disrespected by that, I don't know what to say. You know, I can issue a formal apology. So Dr. Eric Mason, if you're ever at an event and I'm there, just know that I'm not there for any kind of ulterior motive to present any harm to you or your wife or to argue you down or to disrespect you. That is not the type of energy that I come with. So if you felt threatened for me being there, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna declare a public apology. All right. That was not my intention. So I just don't want that to be a hindrance in having a dialogue with him. Do not let that remove a formal dialogue that me and you can have together, that I would love to have with you, because I respect the work that you do in your community, right? And I even know that you're at odds with James White, because James White is overlooking an element that's in the church that you bring to the forefront. And that's why you call your movement the woke church. All right. So that's why I want to have a dialogue with you, because I respect you and you've been professional. I've never seen you be unprofessional. Even though I disagree with some of your views, I've never seen you carry yourself unprofessionally. So I would always love to have a dialogue with you, because to me, you're a professional in the field in which you operate. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would love to have a dialogue with people who act unprofessionally, who do ad hominems, who are disrespectful, who try to make things personal. I will never dialogue with them unless we're able to make amends or they apologize publicly, because I'm not going to come at them like that. Right? I'm not going to blast nobody publicly and disrespect them, just to bait them into a discussion. I'm not going to do that. So there's a professional way that you carry yourself, because these things are on record. When you do stuff like that and you act unprofessional, these things are on record. Nothing goes away. These things are on record. People can see these things. So anybody that you potentially, an organization that you want to work with, an association that you want to work with, professionals in the field that you want to dialogue with, if they investigate you and they see how you carry yourself very unprofessionally, they're not going to want to associate themselves with you. That's one of the main reasons why I'm very cautious on what I put out publicly, because I'm aware that I work with professionals. And because I work with professionals, I'm not going to compromise my integrity simply because somebody wants to get into a mudslinging contest to have a debate or a discussion. I'm not going to do that. So I don't engage in that with Christian apologists or anybody outside of that. So I just want them to be aware that if I'm approaching you, I want to have a formal dialogue because I respect you. Now, if I approach you for a discussion, it's because I respect you. And I respect your professionalism, and I respect what you represent, even though I may not agree with it. And I would love to have a dialogue with you in regards to that. Even the situation with me and Vocab, y'all know me and Vocab went back and forth back in 2016, briefly, 2017, we went back and forth, and maybe here and there 2018, not that much. But when we talked and we finally got to sit down and meet, it wasn't none of that extra stuff. And you guys see the video, you can ask him, it wasn't none of that extra stuff. Now, one of the things I like to do is promote future discussions, right? So I'll give my commentary and stuff and things like that, but I'm not going to outwardly disrespect him. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to call him names and make it personal. Like, I don't get down like that, right? So I want to continue to have the door open for future discussions. So if he comes back to Atlanta, or I go out to Phoenix, or I'm in another city and he's in the same city, the door can be open for a dialogue. So this is the same thing with Eric Mason and maybe anybody else who I've reached out to or I've consented with the discussion with. I just want to make sure that they understand that I'm willing to have our dialogue and not back and forth professionally. I'm not going to make it personal. I'm not going to call you any names. I'm going to talk about your family, your personal life. I'm not going to do any of that. Even if people give me dirt on you, which people give to me all the time, people give me dirt on everybody you can think of all the time. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to put that out there because I don't get down like that. That's not professional. If it's simply the information that I have a contention with, we'll deal with the information. If it's something personal, then when I see them, I'll see them and we'll handle it then. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to publicly berate, belittle, disrespect, or present somebody in a negative, adversarial, evil light like that, simply because we have a disagreement. And I encourage my community to take the same approach. A lot of us are not taking that same approach. So it makes it difficult for me to dialogue with other people when I'm associated with behavior that I don't consent to. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I do my own service to be as cautious and respectful as possible. So Dr. Eric Mason, if you watch this or somebody shares it with you secondhand, or you get it from a third party, just know there's no animosity that I have towards you. I would never disrespect you or your wife in a public venue. I would never try to approach you at a private venue. That will not happen. I don't get down like that. That will not happen. All right. But let's continue. Let's move forward.
So a friend of mine was talking on the phone, and he was talking about he was on some call with a bunch of people from the conscious community and Hebrew Israelites. And
so somebody was on a call with conscious community individuals and Israelites, which is interesting. I would love to know what that call was. I would have loved to just listen in, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know who this friend is. I don't know. He doesn't mention it in the video. But he should probably get involved in those calls too, because there was supposed to be a debate with the Black Christian church and the Black conscious community that's supposed to transpire next week. But I heard through the grapevine that it's going to be rescheduled. Okay. And I know some people was asking me about it, asked me if I was going to be there or if I knew any details about it. So I'm letting you guys know it's been postponed until further notice. All right. So I don't know the full details of that and why that happened. But since it's not my platform and I didn't set the event up, I'm not going to speak authoritatively on it. All right.
He was talking about the fact that people were using Black Unto the Ground and using, I think it was Jeremiah 30, I mean, not the Jeremiah, Job 30:30 and Jeremiah 14:2. So I said, I'll probably do a quick live on it.
And I remember also, when y'all go back and watch that video in which I had Eric Mason's name in it, you can see that I wasn't approaching anybody with no Israelite doctrine. I was asking questions, right, to the brother and what he was promoting. And I even patronized their organization. But that's neither here nor there. They came at me with this oppositional stance of, oh, you an Israelite, you a Hebrew Israelite. And then they came at me with questions. I was not there to argue or debate with those brothers. I was simply asking a question. I was simply breaking the ice and having a dialogue to kill time until the event started back up, because I was during the lunch period. That's all. But they wanted to have the debate with me. They wanted to have an in-depth discussion with me. So when you'll go back and watch the video, it's there. It's not me just giving you hearsay. The video is there, and you will see for yourselves who came at who. I didn't come at those brothers in any kind of disrespectful fashion or manner, argumentative or anything like that. So it's funny when people use those type of tactics because they want to paint a picture of you before you actually have the dialogue. So in the mindset, that the disposition of the audience before they even see the dialogue is already going to be negative, right? So it's not good to do that, but people do that. And that's why these videos like this are made to clear the air for future dialogues.
I wish I was doing this on YouTube, because I would share ancient Israelites were not white people. So Hebrews, or the Israelites, were not, ancient Israelites were not white people. So before somebody like before someone has an issue with what I'm about to do, I want you to really understand that I'm not doing this because I'm trying to whitewash the Bible, or because, you know, he's under the white man's spell, and like, that's not it. I think one of the things that I want to do in this video really quickly is show that we need to be truthful about the Bible, because if not, we look like we're insane.
Now, I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I like his shirt too. I like that shirt he has on too. So I'm just throwing that out there. People who've been following us know why I'm saying that. But yeah, I agree with what he says there. So I don't disagree with everything he says, right? But some things I do disagree with. That's one of the things I do agree with.
We're ethnically insane. We have ethnic insanity. When we do certain things like this, and you know, and we begin to color the Bible in a way that's like, man, do the study. That's why my friends in the Hebrew Israelite movement, I love Hebrew Israelite. That's why I do these videos.
So he has friends in the Hebrew Israelite movement. I would love to know who these friends are. And then he says he loves Hebrew Israelites. All right, that's cool. I don't hate Christians either. I have an issue with Christendom. I have an issue with Western Christianity. Yeah, I have a beef with that. I have issues with that. But the individual, unless they do something wicked towards me, I don't hate them. I don't despise them, right? I dislike maybe what they represent when they try to convert me. And those are the main people I have an issue with. People who try to convert me, or people try to argue me down on my position. Those are the people that I have contention with. But outside of that, I have family members who are Christians. I have associates who are Christians. I have business partners who are Christians. I have coworkers who are Christians. So why would I bash Christians themselves? For me, I don't have any hatred towards them at all. It has to do with the egregore of Western Christianity that I have a beef with. Christendom that I have a beef with. These things I have an issue with. But Christians themselves, I don't hate Christians. I don't. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them can't even convey or properly articulate the particulars of their theology and their conversion process. A lot of times they make it personal so they don't have to get into those dialogues. But the apologists are the ones that's on the forefront that are doing this. So those individuals I love to have dialogues with, but at the same time, again, this is nothing personal. I don't hate Christians. I don't hate them, because a lot of them don't even understand why they're Christian. They don't even know the implications of the systematic theology that has been inserted into them and what it is that they stand on. They don't even know anything about history of their denomination. Like, there's a lot of fundamental things they don't know about. Church history they don't know about, or things that they just are not aware of. So why would I hate them if some of them are naive? Some of them are not, like Dr. Eric Mason, but there are some that are naive. So I don't hate Christians. For the record, I don't hate Christians. All right. I have an issue with the egregore of Western Christianity, and I have an issue with Christendom. Those are my beefs, not with the person. All right. So I want to make sure I make this clear and make sure everybody knows that. People that know me personally, they know that, but some people may not. So I want to put that out there. All right.
When I can, I got a lot on my plate as a pastor, but this is a part of some of the things that I do in engaging people.
All right. So let me see if I could get to him getting into the text.
And so let's look at this. So let me do this real quick, and then I gotta go. Because I have a video to do. So look.
He sounds like me. Every time I say I gotta go, and then you get like another 40, 45 an hour. When I watch his videos, he do the same thing. So it's good to know I'm not alone in that.
It says in This is the King James Bible. So I want to show you some differences in how this reads, not because.
So now he says he wants to show you some differences in how this reads. All right. Now we're going to get into this. Okay. The word for black is shachor, right? That's the word for black. That word is not in Jeremiah 14:2. There's a word that people relate to it, which is kedar or kadar. We're going to see what that means. Kadar, the verb. We're going to see specifically what that means. You have kedar, you have kadar. So we're going to see how that grammatical parcel functions in the syntax of the actual verse. We're going to see that in a second. But it seems like he's going to a parallel translation because he mentions the KJV. And it seems like he's going to a parallel translation. Me, I go straight to the BHS, the Biblica Hebraica Stute Targentia, right? That is the academic standard source from the Leningrad Codex, and that is what I measure any translation against, okay? So I think he's going to another translation, if I'm not mistaken, but it's called BHS for short, and you can access that on a website called academic-bible.com. But you can also download the actual BHS yourself, right?
What did I do with my other Bible?
So the first thing I would do is show the BHS and then get into the parsing, and then from there translate and then interpret. All right. So he has a different means of doing it, right? So we're gonna see real quick.
I want to show you how it reads differently in different Bibles, and the reason why I want to show you why it reads differently in different Bibles.
So I'm gonna show you how it reads differently in different Bibles. So he's going backwards in his I guess his dissemination of the context, right? And better translating this. That's how now, when I was a Christian, I would do the same thing. I would just do like word studies in Hebrew and English. And then I would do a comparative analysis with different translations, right? But then what I will also do is give the preface of those translations and the intent of the translators. And then I will point out things such as footnotes, which is extremely important in critical edition Bibles. That is typically what I would do before when I was a Christian, and even when I was slowly transitioning into being Israelite. Now I go straight to the BHS, I go straight into the parsing, the translation, and then the interpretation, and then I give it back to the community, right? That's what I do now. So I understand why he's taking this approach, because most of his audience are not into the language. Most of the people that tune into KHM are not into the language, right? They're not even into archaeology like that. A lot of people just want the end result. So a lot of times I just give the sources for things if I can't further explicate on them, so that people can go back when they have the time and do the research themselves. So anything that I say or convey, yes, there's some times where I have my own perspective on things. I have my own plenary analytical position on things. You know what I'm saying? I come to my own theses or my own thesis in particular subject matters based on the sources that I cite from and how the methodology that I use to construct the data in order for me to present a thesis. So I go through the entire methodology that you use for a hypothesis, working your way to a thesis, or sometimes you go from a thesis to a hypothesis, depending upon what the subject matter is and what route you're trying to go to prove or justify what you're doing. I have a process that I utilize. I've shared this on this channel before. I shared it on Facebook before. So people should know what my process is. And what I'll do in a video going forward, I'm going to take a stance that I have and I'm going to work it through the entire hypothesis model to a thesis to explain to you how my methodology works, like how my mind works, coming to certain conclusions. And I'll show you that. And these conclusions, some people may agree with, they may like, some people may disagree with, and they may dislike. That's fine. That's all a part of sharing information, sharing your perspective or your worldview. So you can learn, you can grow. Other people can learn and they can grow. That's the purpose of this. It's not like I'm going here because I hate somebody and I just want to destroy them. Like, that's not my mindset. I want to grow. I want to learn so I can help people along the way and they can help me along the way. That's the purpose of it, right? That's when there's a desire for transformative character that you want to take these steps. You understand what I'm saying? This is just ethnically ingrained in us even before we read the scriptures. You feel what I'm saying? It's just that because we grow up into a society, a secular society that's corrupt, we start to pick up all these other feelings. And because of post-traumatic slave disorders, and as well as the pressure that we feel from society from identifying as being Black, these things, you know, it erodes a lot of that good nature that is in us, right? Because of a lot of things that happen to us historically and presently, you know what I'm saying? But when you get into a lifestyle that is supposed to connect you with the divine, there has to be something that makes you Kodesh. And it's the striving to purge away the things of the old you. Because the old me, most people, you know, who know me, they like, yo, it's like who haven't seen me in years. When I go back to New York, like, yo, blah, blah, they call me by my street name sometimes, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? They don't recognize the new me, right? That's exactly what I want. I don't want nobody to recognize the old me, because I'm a new person today. And this is something that we have to understand as Israelites, is that we have to continue to work on the transformative process. A lot of times we feel like, oh, we want to attack and dish. No, according to Torah, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, we're allowed to do that, given the scenario and the situation. But at the same time, we are told in Mishle, in Proverb, that if the Most High deals with your enemy, do not rejoice. You know why? Because a person who's opposing somebody who is striving to maintain good character, they're already entitled to some sort of recompense. So you should not have to be joyous when something happens to them. It's a humbling moment for them when they try to attack you, and then they get the enlightenment like, man, I'm doing the wrong thing, or there's some sort of consequence that comes behind it. So we have to continue to be the light. We have to continue to be the salt. We have to continue to do these things, so that way when we come against people who despise our community, have an issue or beef with our community, then we can be better representatives and say, wait, let me work on that hurt that you had. Let me work on that pain that you have. Let me work on this misunderstanding that you have. We have to be diplomatic and tactful, because in order for us to work in the professional realm and bring in the resources for our community, this is how we must carry ourselves publicly. Now, you may in your personal life feel some kind of way, and like I gave y'all the lesson on biblical meditation, use that method. And sometimes biblical meditation is not singular. You may do it with another person. That's fine if you do things in private. But publicly, there's a particular way that you have to carry yourself, and that you should carry yourself, given the caution that people outside of our community have as it pertains to us. That's extremely important, and I hope y'all are getting this. I hope y'all are getting this, all right? So let's keep going.
So that you can know why translators translate certain things a certain way. It's not because the white man is hiding something from black people. It's because I do think that we'll talk about that later when we talk about Daniel Hayes and some of the stuff that he talks about. But when it comes to just basic color stuff, when we look at this, I'm going to read 2 or 3 versions of the Bible. Okay.
So he's going to go and read 2 or 3 versions of the Bible. You can go online and do that as well. You can go to blueletterbible.org or .com, and you can bring up the parallel Bible and see all the parallelisms between various translations. But a lot of times people don't understand why something was translated a particular way. And that's why you look for the footnotes, right? Or that's why you go to the preface or the appendix in these critical edition Bibles, so you can understand, well, why did they translate it like this? This is a formal equivalency translation. This is a dynamic equivalency translation. This is a medium equivalency translation. Is this an extreme on the left, extreme on the right? You know, who are the translators on a board for this? What is their theological background? Like, that type of stuff I've done with the NASB. I've done that with the ESV. I've done that with various Bible translations, trying to get an understanding of why something was translated the way it was. And it's not like the translators of modern critical edition Bibles are idiots, or that they are students of the language. These are people who are professors who teach it at an academic expert level. So a lot of times when you look at translations, we may not get, once you get to learn the language, but unless you know the people involved in translating it, you would be doing a disservice by saying something crazy about them, unless you know their credentials and understand the thought process behind why they translated it a certain way, right? So I'm gonna let them continue.
So I have open first the King James Bible. Y'all ready? Hope y'all can hear me. Y'all can hear me? Just want to make sure. All right. So it says, let's read from verse 1. It says, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, the dearth.
Now look, the key word there is the dearth. You must understand what dearth means in the original language, because that is giving you the preface before you jump into verse 2 and all the rest of the verses. And again, context is important, and always look for those words, those nuances that typically are supposed to stand out. The word dearth is a standout buzzword for me. So I go back and research it and say, oh, okay, now it gives you, it prepares you better to understand the context. All right. This is called exegesis, right? I'm gonna let them continue.
Dearth is basically a funeral dirge.
So he says it's a funeral dirge. So now he's touching on that, which is good. Let's keep going.
Like it's sort of like the dearth. When he talks about this idea of the dearth, right here, it's talking about, words of dearth. I mean, words of restraint or dearth, right? So when we talk about this idea of this a passage that.
So he could simply just give you the lexical value of that word in the original language, right? And give you a lexicon to explain it. Okay. Some of the best lexicons are the Halot lexicon, or free ones such as the BDB or the Gesenius Hebrew Chaldean lexicon. These are lexicons that I go to. Also the DBL of semantic domains. Hebrew is another favorite of mine. So I use at least 5 or 6 different lexicons to try and source definitions and the best value, lexical value of a word before I put it into into context in a translation.
That oozes mourning. Now let's look at how it reads real quickly in the CSV.
So now he's jumping right to the CSV. Okay.
It says, dearth meant drought. I'm tripping.
There you go. So I'm glad he corrected that. He simply could have just went and gave you the lexical value of the word, and it will convey to you what the understanding was.
It says, so this is the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the drought. So there was a drought. I'm thinking about this Clone Wars thing from Star Wars. I'm sorry.
So we're gonna forgive that. No biggie.
But drought. And so dearth means drought. Now the drought is coming because of Israel's sins. Now look at the next verse.
Correct.
In the King James Version.
He's right. Correct.
Judah mourneth, and the gates there are languished. They are black. Now what's black? Let's look again. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish.
So when I go through this, and like I said, I made a post in the community segment of this channel where I shared for you guys the parsing. And one thing that I said is that unfortunately for some believers, people who want to believe that this verse refers to skin color, you will be disappointed with this parsing because it does not support that. And you'll see certain grammatical features that is just undeniable that lets you know that this has nothing to do with skin color, right? So we have leaders in the community, people who lead in the community or seen as leaders in the community or whatever the case would be. We have to go back and look at these texts and see what the original language says to see if it matches up with our doctrine. And you'll see that this simply does not support that. All right.
Listen to what it says. They are. So that verbal clause, they are black, is referring to
they
the
are
gates,
black,
not Judah.
They are black is a verbal clause. Interesting.
They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Now, just first off, let's just stop right there. Okay. So again, I'm in Jeremiah. You're asking Jeremiah 14. All right. So when you look at that idea of people saying they are black unto the ground, people are thinking about the people, but in the text it says the gates thereof language. The gates are black to the ground. Now
so he's probably going to the gates for plural and they for plural, right? Which is third person plural, and they could be third person masculine, plural, third person single, feminine, plural, third person, whatever. But they is a third person plural, right? So we're gonna see in the parsing how that is relative, right? But let him finish.
And so that's just a cursory reading, just based on the King James version of the Bible. I'm just making sure y'all still y'all are still here. All right, and everything's working out cool and good and everything. So, however, let's take the word black though here in the passage. Now, the word black is normally an adjective. However, the word kadar here, actually the Hebrew word kadar, is not a verb.
The word kadar there is not a verb, or did he mean it's not an adjective? We're going to see with the parsing.
I mean, a noun, it's a verb here.
There you go. He fixed it. Okay, cool. No problem.
So blackness here is not like you can look in your Strong's Concordance, and I'll pull out what I would say is one of the best Hebrew lexicons you can
The
get.
best one is the HALOT. Look it up. The Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament. That's, to me, the best. That's one of the academic standards.
Hold up. So in the Strong's Concordance that was written by a white man, that
he said the Strong's Concordance that was written by a white man. He's funny.
Dudes who talk against white people and their influence read Strong's Concordance because Strong's was a white man. I just want to. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just trying to let you know.
Yeah, he keeping it real.
That. So it means to be ashy, to be dark,
to be ashy,
colored, be black,
to
wear dark clothes,
to
mourn, to be gloomy, to be soiled, be foul, or
to be soiled. There's verb stems in Hebrew that let you know if something is to be something, or to become something, or something is happening to the subject, or if it's directed towards the object. You learn all of this when you look at the verb stems, right?
Be turbid, to be dark, to darken the sun or the stars. And you'll see that over in other passages where it talks about the sun being darkened. Based on
and he's absolutely correct.
The scriptures, you know.
Matter of fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kedar also is in the book of Nehemiah when they're saying that it's beginning to grow dark in reference to the Sabbath.
You can look over in Ezekiel 32:7 and 8, and you can look at Job 30.
So what he's doing is he's giving you the TSK, the treasure of scriptural knowledge, where it helps with cross references, right? So he's giving cross references again, which is great. It's good. But you can simply just get into parsing the actual verse and get all the details you need from it, right?
It's 30:30. And you look at Job 2, which I have a copy of, is an Edomite. But that's a whole nother.
So he's talking about Job being an Edomite. And he's referring to the Septuagint, which is, in this case, you know, is neither here nor there because we're using a Greek manuscript, a Hebrew manuscript to translate into the English.
Thing. So upon me and my bones are raised based on the Bible is not based on the Ruach. It's based on being influenced by actual white supremacy that's impacted your.
No. It's based simply on people that don't know the facts. When you don't know the facts on something, then you would defer to whatever it is that he's saying. It has nothing to do with having the Ruach in this sense. So I have to have the spirit to be able to understand what this verse is saying, or I can simply mechanically break it down and decipher it that way. You don't need the Ruach to find out what this verse is saying. You don't need the Ruach to find out what this verse is saying.
The attempts to restore dignity through restoring it through skin color versus spiritual regeneration.
He's saying something about white supremacy, skin color. It's very interesting when he says stuff like that, because he's also under that same influence because of the woke church and his beef going back and forth with James White. When you understand his position and what James White says about him, that same definition that he gave about people who may be under that influence of white supremacy and all of that, he speaks on that. He has a similar position, and James White has brought it out, and this is why they went back and forth. James White even critiqued his book and disagreed with it, right? But let's continue.
So when you read this, and this, if he's not burnt in his bones, then obviously his skin isn't black in the sense of black like this. Chapter 2, it talks about him putting sackcloth and ashes on, so ashy. It's pointing to the reality of the ash of burning of a city and the sackcloth and ashes. Because I got books everywhere, but they was telling me to show your library. This is my little library. This is some of my library.
Okay.
It's exegetical, what we call the exegetical.
So he has a theological dictionary of the Old Testament, right?
Form, or the original form. It means to become dark. Mm-hmm. So that shows you.
That's a good resource, by the way.
Right there. And you got to be careful of utilizing you got to be careful of taking the definition of a word within a lexicon or Bible dictionary and choosing the one that fits what you want to say.
That's what he just said right there is gold. He is absolutely correct. And I've been teaching this for years. Okay. You don't just grab a lexicon and just pick what you want out of it. You have to understand, because lexicons, when they break it down, especially like the BDB, they break it down according to verb stems. And then they give you the references in different passages that utilize that word within that verb stem for verbs. Okay.
I'm telling you this, I'm dropping jewels, because right here, a lot of people, even pastors many times, because one word will make the sermon preach a little bit more, we'll use that word, and we have to be careful because we're called to be faithful and rightfully dividing the word of truth, right?
And he's correct. He's correct.
One of the things I would encourage my Hebrew Israelite friends to do is get tools. Y'all gotta.
Now he said, I encourage y'all to get tools. On this channel, we always recommend tools. I just showed you 3 tools before we even started, 3 books as references before we even started. So I wholeheartedly agree with him on here.
Stop thinking that the Ruach, like you, because you got the Holy Spirit. I mean, because you're saying you have the Holy Spirit.
But they have the Holy Spirit, but Israelites don't have the Holy Spirit. That's extremely relative and subjective, right? That's based on interpretation. But let's continue.
I would say that's not the Holy Spirit that's teaching you.
Of course, you would say that because that's relative to your worldview.
I believe it's the spirit of the Antichrist that's teaching you.
And then people would say, because you talk about this woke church of the Black church taking charge of issues within the Black community and being able to put at the forefront this element of the Black church in the face of the white church, so that they recognize that some white churches or some churches that are multi-ethnic will say that you don't have the Spirit because you keep talking about this woke Black church. It's like there's no color in when you're in Jesus Christ. So they'll say that you don't have the Spirit because you don't have the revelation of something that basic, right? So again, when we throw that kind of essence around, right, or we convey that type of thought form, it's subjective, right?
And I don't care if you get mad at me. I believe it's in the spirit of the Antichrist that, based on, we test the spirit by the spirit.
So now he's saying that people who don't have the Spirit and understanding like he does, they have the spirit of the Antichrist. Again, this is all relative.
When you come with another gospel, yeah. And so again, like I pulled it out. If you want me later on this evening, let me see, do I have any more of my lexicons instead here instead of my because I have like a few hundred on my computer, but I can't screen share it right now. So tell me when Facebook allows you to screen share. When they do that, that's going to be changing the game. And so again, man, I hope y'all do.
Well, you can screen share on Facebook if you use OBS, XSplit. There's software out there that will allow you to simultaneously broadcast on YouTube and Facebook where you can screen share. So that's just a jewel that I'm throwing out at you, Dr. Eric Mason.
I don't think pastors are afraid of y'all. Like, and I'm probably never going to engage you in your camp, and whether you got issue with them or whatever. Vocab is a good resource. I'm gonna tell you. He said on 1:1.
All right, then he starts going through books and all this other stuff. All right, so I'm gonna end this here. I'm gonna end this here. Okay. And let me get into the parsing because it's getting late and I know that I'm supposed to be doing something else in a second. So give me 1 moment. All right. So let me speed this up because now my time is getting cut short. So let me speed this up. All right. So you saw Dr. Eric Mason's approach to trying to convey the understanding in regards to Jeremiah 14:2. He took his approach. He did what he did to express it. In our community, simply what we should do is we should go to the actual parsing of the text, right? So what I want to show you on my screen right here, let me pull it up on my screen. What I want to show you on my screen here is the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, okay? And being that this is the academic standard source from the Leningrad Codex, you'll see how it breaks down Jeremiah 14 in the Hebrew, okay? What we're focusing on is here when we do the parsing. And I think the main key thing to take up is this trilateral root here, kuf, right? Dalet, resh. Excuse me. Kuf, dalet, resh. And this is where you get your word kadar from, okay? And we're going to see when we do the parsing, right? This right here is your pronomial, right? And then you got this right here, which is your root. Then you got your comments underneath the kuf. And we're going to see what verb stem this is in, etc. But this is the word where it was translated as black. And black is not a good translation for how this is functioning within this verse. Black is not a good translation, all right? It's really not a good translation, all right? So let me bring up let's bring up the preliminary parsing that I did, and we can review that. Let me see, can I make this? All right, here we go. Okay, I'm trying to hurry up because I'm supposed to be doing something else. So I'm gonna show you on the screen real quick. And this right here is my parsing of the text. All right. Shout out to Get Wise. Thank you so much for the donation. I truly appreciate that. I appreciate that, my brother Get Wise. So what we have here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 constructs, right? 9 constructs for this verse. Okay. And again, remember, this is a preliminary parsing, Jeremiah 14:2. We have Abla, we have Yehuda, which we know is Judah. We say Judah. We have Ushe Areha, Ume Lelu. So this right here, this Amal, and then we have this consonant doubled. This is where we're going to discover our Pulel stem. And then we have the suffix U, which we're going to see what that suffix U is, because we also have it here. And we know this right here, this Kaderu. So here, this Shewa is vocalized because you have the Kamet, which is a long A that precedes it. If it was the Patach, then this right here would be a silent Shewa. So we have Kaderu, La Aret, We, Zu, Chat. We have Yerushalam. We have Alata, right? This is our Hebrew right here. So now once we start breaking it down, for the first one, Abla, right? Or Abela, right? Abela is right here. Vocal shewe comes before this, but then we have this guttural here, which is this Aleph sound, all right? But let's look at the root, which is Abal, and pretty much just simply translates to mourn, right? And this is a verb. It's acting as a verb, right? Even though it has the a attached to it, which is the feminine singular, right? It's in a cow stem. You see this kamets? Kamets, it's in the cow stem. It's in the perfect because there's no prefix to alter this, right? So it's in a cow stem, which is your simple action, right? Perfect, which means past tense. Third person feminine singular because of the suffix he, okay? And this could be translated as mourn, grieved, or because it's the feminine singular, she mourned or she grieved, okay? Then we have Yehuda. It comes from the root word yada, which means to cast or throw up. And some people say that means praise, right? But I just use the regular translation as far as the name nomenclature is concerned, in regards to name, and just put Judah, right? It's a noun, feminine singular, and it's absolute, which means this is its lexical value and it has not been modified. Suffix has not been modified to represent the construct form, which we're about to see shortly, right? The third construct that we have here, Ye'u, She'a, Re, Ha. So we're going to see this right here, which represents our construct form for the masculine plural, okay? So when we go break this down, the first part here is our conjunction, which is U, which is your Wav, right? And then this could be translated as and, then, or, depending upon the context. So here we're going to choose and, okay? Your Se, Are, right? This right here, your Zegol and your Yud, this will represent what we call the construct form. And a construct form shows possession, and it shows that this noun is dependent upon a pronomial or another noun that precedes it. Okay, it's dependent upon it. It shows the possessive of. Okay, so in this case, this could be translated as gate, gatehouse, gateway, but I like city gates, because you'll see where it's also expressed as city gates in other lexicons, right? And the root word here is sha'ar, which is interesting because if you go back to that vocabulary guide that I showed you, that word is in there and it shows you the other variants of that trilateral root as well. And within context, city gates to me would make a lot of sense. Then you have your I, your ha here, which is your root Q, which could be this, that, she, or it. It's your pronoun, third person, feminine, singular, and it's suffixed. So that means this right here, right, with your zago and your yod, is dependent upon this pronominal right here. All right, so we'll see how we translate it as we continue on. You have your fourth construct, your lelu, that's here. Let's go on, right? So we're gonna break it down with your u or your wav, which is your prefix conjunction, meaning and. You have your, oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. Let's move over here. So here you have your leil, well, I said leil, it's really lelu. And this is where I discovered right here the aleph, the mem, and the lamed, which was the root, which we got here, which means to wither, dry out, and grow feeble. But then you see this extra lamed there. So like in your PL stem, plural stem, you'll have the dagesh over this consonant here. But what happens in this case, we have the doubling of the final consonant. And then we have the suffix of u or wav, which in this case doesn't function as your and, it functions as your pronominal, third person plural, meaning they. So here it says they withered, right? And you can have your withered here and your pu'al stem, which is similar to your pu'al stem. It's just a variation of the pu'al stem, which is your passive intensive, okay? Once we jump down to the, see how this switches over like that. Anyway, so once we finish that, we get to the next one, which is the star of the show, your ka de ru, right? You have your ka de r here, your kuf, your dalet, your race, which is your trilateral root. And again, he was right when he's talking about it being a verb. It means, its cow stem means to be dark, to be dull, to be dirty, or something that darkens or dullens or gets dirty, or whatever the case may be, or to dirty something. It's the verb in a cow stem, right? This is your cow stem, right? You see your kamet, and it's in the perfect, which means it's a completed action, right? And it could be to darken, to dullen, to get dirty, to get dull, to be darkened, or to darken. And then you have your suffix, your u, your wav suffix, which puts this in the third person plural as a suffix, and it translates as they simply, right? And then you have your next part here, your la aret, right? Your la is your preposition as prefix to the root word, which is aretz, which some of y'all may know as, it's translated as earth in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, right? And then the second part of that is your aretz here. Sometimes some people say it's a definite article can be assumed here, the ha, which means the. It could be to the earth or to the ground, but aretz can mean your land, earth, territory. It's feminine, singular, absolute. This is one of those nuanced feminine nouns, because as you can see, this is the way that it ends, aretz. We don't have your typical hey that is suffixed to it, right? This is one of those nouns that you got to remember to know that it's feminine, right? Because otherwise some people may assume that it's masculine, and it's an instance where it's masculine, but it's very rare. It's very rare. All right, so we go to our seventh construct, right, which is our way zu hat, right? So your way is your prefix, and when you start to learn why you have u, way as a prefix, when you go into the courses, it explains to you these features so you can understand what this is functioning as, why this one has a shewa underneath it, right? So this is your conjunction, meaning and, then, or. In this case, I translated it as and, right? But we'll see in the rest of the part, then you have your suhat, that's here, right? And this means, it comes from the root word ze wahat, which means a cry of lament or an outcry. It's a noun, right? It's feminine singular. We see it's feminine singular here, right? And it's in a construct form like torat, because you have your a here, your patak, and your tav, which puts it in the feminine singular construct form, okay? Which means it's dependent upon a noun, and we're going to see what that is, okay? And that gives you your of, or it could be your apostrophe s suffix that you get in English. It depends on how you like translate it out. And it's a cry of distress, outcry of grief, etc. So the eighth construct that we have here, ye ru shalam, right? Yerushalayim. You have the word Yeru, you have your word Salam, but then you also, when you break down the roots, when I was really getting to roots, you have Yara, which we get as the root for Torah, which means to throw, shoot, or to pour. Your El, which is your mighty one. You also, and that should equal for you Yeruel, which means something that has been founded by El, which the lexicon purports. And then your last is your Shalom, which we know as what? Peace. To be sound, really to mean sound and complete, which puts you in a state of peace, or puts a people, a state, a situation in a state of peace. So you have a lot of these basic forms that actually gives you more detail in what this word means. I simply translate it as a noun, right? Up here, what you'll see is Jerusalem, but it can also mean the foundation of peace. All right, it's a masculine noun, singular, and it's absolute, which means there's no construct suffix to it. It's this full lexical definition of the word. All right, our ninth and final construct is your alata, right? Your alata. And the root word is Allah, which means to ascend, to lead up, to bring up. It's a verb. It's in a cow stem. We see here from our commences. It's in a perfect tense because it's not modified with the prefix. It's in the third person, feminine singular, because we have our hey, which is here, or your ta, or your ah here, right? So it could be translated as gone up or climbed, okay? So again, this is a preliminary parsing that I did real quick. This is my first time revisiting it after I had broken it down. But when I go to a final translation, we start to see some things that are related that lets us know this has nothing to do with skin color, okay? You have Judah, she lamented, right? So I'm trying to put it here. I could put it in the literal interlinear translation, but I decided, no, let me make it more coherent for people that understand the English on how it should be best translated from my perspective. So here I put Judah, comma, she lamented. So Judah here is denoted as feminine. She, third person feminine, singular. She lamented, because it's perfected. We had the word lament. We put it in the perfect tense, which is past tense, and which was our wav. Her city gates. Now here you have your construct form where city gates is relating on her. But in the Hebrew, it's suffix. Here in English, we have it preceding the word city gates, because city gates is relying upon this pronominal her, third person feminine, her, right? And as we see here, when he's breaking it down, we also get the she here, but she doesn't work here. For English, we have to put her. Her city gates, they got withered, right? The pull out, similar to the pull out stem. So the action is being intensified onto the subject. They got withered. Her city gates, they got withered. They darkened, right? Past tense. Remember, the verb is to darken. They darkened. Then we had the lamed preposition prefix, towards or to the land. You could say to the earth, but the earth is too general and too wide. In this case, we're referring to the land because Judah is also a territory. And that is what it's representing, a territory in the abstract form, because it also encompasses the people and the things therein. All right, it darkened towards the land. So we have they darkened towards the land, because the Hebrew tells you when you have your suffix, your pronominal suffix, that it denotes plural, right? Third person plural. They darkened, just like the city gates, her city gates. We also got the third person plural as well. They got withered, right? They got withered. They darkened. Where we saw the u suffix suffix on both of those verbs. We know that they and the they, and when you go back to see, well, what's the plural noun that the they can be representative of, and it can only be the city gates. And an outcry, whenever you see brackets, is something that I've added there. You can also put towards the land, because the grammatical rules will add the definite article the, but I put it in brackets simply because it's not expressed there when you parse it out, as far as the feature is not there. It's implied, but it's not there. And I put and here as well, because again, that is not there in the parsing. But when I put brackets, I add it for context. And an outcry of Jerusalem. Jerusalem has ascended, or has climbed up to the heavens. Shemayim, to the heavens. It has climbed up. So now a note is taken in regards to why this information is being given to Jeremiah to notice what is going on. So as you can see here, this has nothing to do with skin color being black, people being black. And this has nothing to do with your doctrine. This is simply how it translates when you parse it out in the original language, okay? So hold on one second. So I'm gonna stop here, but I'm gonna pause for 1 second because let me just take this phone call real quick. Okay, my bad, family. All right, so let me finish wrapping this up because it is getting kind of late, and I had agreed to do something for a little bit after this, and then I need to prepare for tomorrow. But I just wanted to break it down so that way you'll understand that simply when you go into the language itself and looking at the features of the language, it pretty much explains to you what's going on, and you really don't have to grab like a parallel translation, or you don't have to really go into other books. You can simply just break it down piece by piece, and then when you're able to convey it back, you'll be able to see what's going on in the verse. That'll give you more definition to the context. All right, and if you read before and after, you see this thing as well. Shout out to Yehuda Ben Yisrael. I appreciate that. Thank you for the donation. I understand it's a big sacrifice, but I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so let me I appreciate that, Get Wise. Thank you so much, my brother. All right, so let me finish. Let me wrap this up. So let me get into the second segment. So to sum that up, that verse has nothing to do with skin color, and our community needs to reevaluate that. If you want to present, the melanin count of the individuals, you have to try something else because that verse does not allow you to do it. Right. And that's just to give this nugget to my community so that way we are not erroneous when we are presenting information, simply because we have not delved deeper to uncover really what's going on in the verse. Right. And, sometimes you're just not going to get that from the English. Sometimes you can if it's one of those formal equivalency translations that are slavish to the original language. But a lot of times you're not going to get that, right? And even putting that word black in there, shahor, as you can see from the BHS, is just simply not there, okay? And it's like you said, it's not the adjective, it's actually a verb there, which means to be darkened, right? Or to be dark, right? All right, so let me get into the last part because now I'm not going to be able to finish everything. But let me show you this last part. And this is critical as we progress in the next videos, right? The next couple of videos that I do when I do the cross-cultural analysis, right? Using cross-cultural research methodology. And we're going to see, I just want to read something real quick in regards to oral tradition. All right. So let me bring this up on the screen real quick. And then I'm going to, hold on one second. Where did I put this at? Is this it? Hold on, family. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is it. All right, here we go. This one, this one. This is the other one. Okay. All right, here we go. And I'm gonna have to just explicate on this another time simply because I'm running low on time. So let me just bring it up for you. I just want y'all to see this real quick. And then takes, let's see, where is, that's what I gotta do. I gotta bring the book up. Hold on one second. Let me get the book. Let me bring the book up. There it is. Let me go to, here we go. All right, so let's read this first, and then we'll go into that. All right. So let me share my screen. Hold on one second. All right. So what I'm doing now with this cross-cultural analysis, right, comparative analysis, is we're getting into looking at certain things to see if there's any relationship. Okay. So one of the things that I want to bring to the table is the use of oral tradition. Okay, so this is a article, right, that's written by the Department of History and International Studies, Alvin Akoku Federal College of Education, Owerri, Nigeria, right, by Dibia Yosef and Mwasu Ezekwesili, right? Oral tradition and historical reconstruction in Igbo land, Southeast Nigeria, right? It gives you an abstract here. History is a body of knowledge derived from the past lives of a society. The reconstruction of these past lives relied on the objective use of various sources, which include, among others, oral or verbal evidence, written evidence, and material remains. Unfortunately, most scholars of Eurocentric culture, as they are often referred to, are propagating a mistaken belief that objective historical reconstruction is only possible through the use of written documents, thereby regulating the use of other sources of historical information, such as oral traditions, to the background. This misconception about the sources of historical information is certainly proven dysfunctional in the reconstruction of history, particularly in areas like Igbo land that suffer from lack of conventional or written records. This paper sees oral tradition as a veritable tool which must be harnessed and objectively used for sustained historical reconstruction both in literate and non-literate societies of the world. It therefore showed that oral traditions, like other sources of history, are invaluable in historical reconstruction, especially in the reconstruction of the history of non-literate societies. All right, what is oral tradition? Syntactically speaking, oral tradition is a two-word phrase. While oral means spoken rather than written, tradition means a belief, custom, or ways of doing something that has been in existence for a very long time among a particular group of people. It follows, therefore, that oral tradition could semantically mean spoken beliefs, customs, or ways of doing things that have been in existence for a very long time among a particular group of people. This definition implies that oral tradition comprises all cherished customs, belief systems, and/or ways of doing things which are handed down from one generation to another for a very long time through spoken word. All right. Uzoigwe, 1977, defines oral tradition as that aspect of history which is not written down. Its major characteristic is that it has no author as it is passed from one generation to the other. All right. Ajayi and Uzoigwe supports the view on the values of oral tradition as a major tool in the reconstruction of Africa's past, when he writes, Africa historiography has changed the course of historical writing, which now doubts the sufficiency of written sources alone for historical writing, even when written sources appear abundant. Vansina, as cited in Uyuga 2009, defines oral tradition as all verbal testimonies which are reported statements concerning the past. This definition, according to Vansina, demonstrates three important elements. First, since they are verbal testimonies, they are passed down by word of mouth. This means that the oral tradition can either be spoken or sang. The second attribute of oral tradition is the fact that it is a reported statement. In this case, the informant may or may not be an eyewitness of the event that he is talking about. Perhaps the importance of this attribute lies in the fact that oral tradition is used as the memory of a society, since it could pass chains of testimonies from one generation to the other. The third attribute lies on the control which exists in all societies that make for near accurate preservation of traditions consistent with the sentiments of the group. In a nutshell, we can note the fact that oral tradition is one part of the larger historical documents known as oral evidences. Now you'll see this person right here, Vansina, is one of the foremost experts, or was one of the foremost experts in the field in regards to oral tradition as history, and he even wrote a book of that. And I'm going to show you that book right now real quick so you guys can see what it is that I'm talking about. You can go purchase it for yourselves if you want to. All right. Now I'm rushing through this because I got to wrap it up, unfortunately, but I'm rushing through it. All right. And here you see it here, right? This is Vansina's book. Okay, so what I'll do, let me show you the front cover, right? It's called Oral Tradition as History by John Vansina. All right, this is somebody who spent years and years and years or decades living in Africa. And one of the things that he specialized in looking at the oral traditions and the oral history and seeing how valid it is when we do historical reconstruction. Okay, now when we go through here, he breaks down the various parts of the interpretation experience, even where the message is, how they generate it, whether it's news, eyewitness, hearsay, visions, dreams, and hallucinations, right? The interpretation of the experience, is it to reminisce? Is it for a commentary? Is it a verbal art? He goes into oral history, explains the dynamic process, oral tradition, whether it's memorized speech, the accounts, historical gossip, personal tradition, group account, right? This would be a social memory. Traditions of origin and genesis, which is extremely important, where the people tell you where they came from. They either give you a cosmogony story or anthropogony story, where they say where we came from, where the universe came from, etc. It's cumulative accounts, meaning that the oral tradition is not one linear account, but it's multiple accounts that have been grafted together, right? It tells you if it's epic involved, tales, proverbs, or sayings. Then it goes into oral tradition as a source of history. It gives you the definition of it. It gives you from observation to permanent record. And then evidence of what? Any message containing historical information tells us about events or sequences of events, describes a situation of the past, or reports a trend. A car accident is an event. A description of etiquette at funerals a century ago is evidence of a situation, and remarks about inflation and bride wealth are evidence of a trend. Most situations and trends in tradition seem to be summaries of events generalized. Thus, the memories one has of etiquette concerning funerals derive from one's participation in one or more funerals, plus what was then said to be proper on such occasions. An observation about change in bride wealth may rest on an actual observation. It usually translates an opinion also held by the community, whether the fact substantiated or not. Therefore, statements about situational trends need not in fact relate to actual events or observations. Often they derive from generalizations made by contemporaries or later generations. Such data testify then to opinions and values held to mentalities, and that is their value. And that is a testimony of fact. It is therefore important to scrutinize tradition for signs that they are in fact expressions of generalizations or norms rather than statements of observations of events or situations. The converse held equally as true. Having described oral traditions in this chapter, I can now turn to the application of the rules of evidence to them, and to begin with how a tradition relates to a text that stems from it. As historians, we deal with stable text, permanent messages, but this record is only one manifestation occurring only once in a stream of renderings or performances. Can we accept a text as a valid rendering of a tradition? This and related questions form the subject of the next chapter, which is performance, tradition, and text. And you can go buy this book yourself if you want to read it more in depth. I can't quote more from it because I'm pressed on time. So what I'm going to do is finish reading the other two articles, and then I'm going to wrap up here and deal with the direct democratic societal structure at another time, and divination, what I wanted to do at another time. Right. So when we get back to what is here that we're reading, let me get back and show the screen. And all this is going to be important as we progress through the next couple of videos when I address this in more detail, right? So this next one is another article. This one is written, the title of it is Oral Tradition as a Reliable Source of Historical Writing, Arguments for and Against and Implications for Historical Writing in Education, from the Department of Educational Foundations, Guidance and Counseling, University of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, right? Oral tradition is a reliable source of historical writing. This paper therefore examined oral tradition as a reliable source of historical writing, arguments for and against, and implications for historical writing in education. To do this, efforts were made to define the concept of oral tradition, arguments for the use of oral tradition as a reliable source of historical writing, arguments against and implications for historical writing in education. It was therefore concluded that oral tradition can be used in historical writing in education. However, the historian must be cautious of some factors, such as the need to be patient to go to the root of the oral tradition in order to ensure that the facts collected and gathered are authentic and genuine. Okay, so when we go down here, it's oral tradition, reliable source of historical writing. It says here, many commentators and professional historians, particularly foreign ones, that means those outside of Africa, such as Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, Robert Lowy, Hugh Trevor Roper, and vast African historians trained in Europe vehemently expressed that oral sources of history is unreliable. This perhaps is due to the misconception of these historians to equate documentary materials with history, and absence of these definitively means no history. Even though oral tradition has its own weaknesses or shortcomings, like lack of exact chronologies and dates, among others, that's extremely important, family, it can still be argued seriously that they are not sufficient and genuine enough to negate its reliability as a source of historical writing. No wonder Ajayi and Alagoa, 1990, submitted that such limitations, notable in oral tradition, when they are recognized explicitly by historians who must work with them, do not necessarily invalidate African historiography as a scientific discipline. In fact, recognition of the limitations, strengths it claims to be scientific, while it stimulates the rigorous search for other means of achieving reliability. Thus, oral tradition remains a reliable source of historical writing. It should be noted that in most part of Africa, learning consists of oral tradition and other oral sources. Commenting on the reliability of oral tradition, again, Van Sina, who I cited from his book, writes thus: with all practitioners in the field, we can reaffirm that oral traditions are legitimate and valuable sources for the historians, sources which admittedly are usually difficult to handle, but which can yield information about past events and past trends. They are indispensable if we hope to arrive at a genuine understanding of what happened in Africa. Thus, in order to make oral tradition reliable as a valuable source of historical writing, like other sources, the historians using this source must be meticulous, painstaking, and cautious. Hence, the historians using oral tradition must possess an intimate knowledge and a clear understanding of the local languages, traditions, and customs of the place and people whose oral tradition they are collecting for reconstruction of their history. With particular reference to the continent of Africa, where the art of writing extremely limited before the advent of Europeans, oral tradition and other oral sources of history, like oral evidence and others, constitute the bulk of the sources where the past history of Africa could be reconstructed. Oral tradition is therefore a reliable source because African non-literate society has always, from time to time, immemorial, used the oral mode, of which Oral tradition is an integral part for the transmission of their history, customs, their traditions, their folklores, etc., from one generation to the next. Thus, oral traditions are very valuable in stimulating and promoting African cultural heritage. I hope you are paying attention to what I'm saying. Let's look at this. Problems or shortcomings of oral tradition as a source material for historical writing. In spite of the importance and contributions of oral tradition as source materials for historical writing, coupled with the fact that there is no historical source that does not have its weaknesses, there are many problems levied against oral tradition. Some of these problems are succinctly discussed below. Read this part in particular. This is very important. The refusal of many foreign and Western trained historians to recognize oral traditions or oral historical accounts as really true historical artifacts serves as one of the problems. Their refusal is partly due to a number of factors ranging from racial superiority to failure to appreciate African culture and historical growth. Besides, oral traditions have been regarded as being liable to distortions. Also, many of the narrators may like to avoid unpleasant facts, and sometimes some cultures, they don't. They include it. Oral traditions could be used to justify situations or claims in the present. This has often led to distortions and fabrications. Another noticeable problem is that of chronology. While written sources may be precise in dates, oral traditions provide no absolute dates. It's relative dating. In oral traditions, events are usually dated only to the reigns of chiefs. Keep that in mind. The outbreak of epidemic or diseases, wars, famines, and others. Oral traditions are susceptible to changes to different societal attitudes, I would say. Such changes occur in keeping with the climate of opinion that prevails at the time and may also be due to personal ambition or achieve historical ends. That's why when you want to take this as one piece of evidence, you have to find a delicate way from the perspective of the author, the person who's orating it, the orator, to put it through the historiographical method to try and ascertain or link up this oral tradition chronologically in a sequential order to understand the sequencing events and try to correlate it or substantiate it with external evidences to see how you can pinpoint the accuracy of what's contained within the oral tradition. This is important because sometimes oral traditions are just simply written down. They're not, nobody just goes to the oral tradition that's written down and say, okay, let's fix everything. Sometimes later redactors of the text who are part of that tradition, they may do that. But initially, when you examine a text that comes from an oral tradition source, a traditional source, you understand why it's formulated the way it is, because that kind of sequence of putting together the events from the perspective of the orator, why it was laid down, and then why administratively that information becomes important for the formation of a state. Everything that I'm saying is extremely important and relative to our studies as far as our community, but we have to understand these things because you'll see when people scrutinize a source that is originally was composed of an oral traditional source that later redactors tried to fix, people will heavily scrutinize and say, "Oh, it's fake and it's copy, for something, and it's not relevant, and it's completely wrong," or they'll make these absolute statements, and they're not sensitive to the oral tradition nature of the actual text that the oral tradition has been laid out in. So because I understand this from doing my studies in West African culture, and I'm sensitive to that understanding, so that when we get oral traditions that's been laid down, and then you got other experts that come behind it and they do their best to historically reconstruct the accuracy of what's laid inside the oral tradition, then you learn to take a similar approach. Right? And these are people who are from that culture who've become educated and now using their education, historical, graphical methodology with the understanding of the importance of the oral tradition, and they find a way to synthesize it so that way the outcome could be something that is sensitive to the culture and at the same time pull forth substantial information so that way external entities can get the sequence and events, can get the accuracy of what's being told, to be able to reconstruct the culture of the people and their history. So you can understand where they came from, where they're at, why certain things are done within their custom, their traditions, their etiquette, etc. The same attitude must be applied when you read the scriptures. If you don't look at the same methodology, And Vasnina, he said that in his book. And again, his book is being referenced through all these articles I'm reading about West Africa. His book is being referenced because he did a in-depth, detailed analysis on this. If you are short-sighted of this understanding, then when you go back to read the text, you're going to be looking at it from a Western perspective, and then you will allow it to be judged through a Western historiographical methodological analysis. And when that happens, now people can throw dirt on it because simply they are looking at it from the wrong lens. They're not being objective about the information contained therein. When I've spoken to professors at the Oriental Institute of Chicago, they expressed to me that, yes, the text that you have called the Tanakh was originally, in its original form, a lot of the events were not contemporary. Some of them were not. A lot of it contains oral tradition that was later redacted. So I say, oh, that's interesting. So are people being culturally sensitive to the oral tradition that is captured in the text with the understanding that was later redacted to try and get some form of uniformity, which lets you know that the redactions happened when there was a state regime? Because before the state regime, there was no need to redact the text or even to put it down in a written format because it was something that was in a social memory of the people. All of this that I'm saying is painstakingly important when you dissect meticulously the details of any text whose original source was from an oral tradition and not from an administrator that was detailing everything that occurred contemporarily on behalf of a state or an empire. So what I'm saying to you is congruent to deciphering the text and putting it within its proper context. And when you do studies in West African culture and West African people, West African history, it helps you to better elucidate the importance of how to properly decipher the text, given sensitivity to the source of where the text came from. This is extremely important. So I'm going to end off with that because I want to say a little bit more, but I'm going to end off with that. I think that helps to substantiate my premise that when people take the Bible and they ask me all these questions, oh, you see the Bible contradicts itself, or you see the Bible's lying about this, and I say, whoa, slow down. Your methodology for analyzing the text comes from a Eurocentric Western perspective. You're not being culturally sensitive to the orators who gave forth the information before it was written down by the state. You're not being sensitive. And if you're somebody of African descent, you're doing a disservice because you're not even taking the appropriate approach to respect the culture and be sensitive enough to understand it and why it was formulated what it did, and to use the historiographical methodological approach to get in the information and find a way to correlate it to events, and then have the oversight to identify why there are discrepancies and don't simply dismiss it as being fake or false or they lying. Like that type of process is somebody who is not genuine and somebody who has an agenda. And the more we're able to internalize that notion, the more you can address them from the indigenous perspective, being culturally sensitive to the source of the information, why it was put together, its initial intent before it was laid down for a state purpose, and then later redacted so that way it could be more cohesive in response to the Western methodology of historical graphical analysis. And those of you who hear what I'm saying, is just note that oral tradition can be used as evidence, but when it's written down, it may not seem as coherent and as cohesive as the European or the Western historical graphical method would like it to be. So therefore, you, the reader, have the responsibility of breaking it down, being culturally sensitive to how it was compiled and what happened to it over time. So that way you could get into the mindset of the culture and be able to properly explicate how that cultural identity relates to the sister cultures around us, to put everything back within its proper perspective so you can understand what was going on. That's, to me, my approach, the best way to deal with the text. Most of our community, we do not deal with it like that. So that's why when you go against people that try to throw dirt on the text, and the same thing goes for people who subscribe to the New Testament. That was originally oral before it became written. You understand what I'm saying? People are not culturally sensitive to the orators and what they was experiencing at that time and why they utilize that methodology to do so. Now, when you go back to the scriptures, another way to really learn this oral aspect is going into the songs, like the Song of Deborah, right? Or the Song of Miriam, right? Song by the Sea, right? When you go into the songs, these songs are oral traditions, right? That predate the written part of the oral tradition, okay? And this helps to capture, this is why the Most High told Moshe to put it in a song, right? This helps to actually capture the essence of what's going on. And these things are you're easily more liable to commit it to memory and then read, you know, as opposed to remembering the entire paragraph. This is why when you go to the griots of West African cultures, they're the ones who are the containers of the history, the traditions, the customs of those people. And if I was to write that down, I would have to be culturally sensitive to the griot that's passing it down to me. And if I'm going to apply a particular methodology to ascertain the historical value of what he's saying, I have to take all things into account. This is how you nullify argumentation that uses the Eurocentric mindset to disqualify your particular position if you can simply just present this argumentation to them and use these sources to back it up. All right. That is a very non-African way of assessing culture. Very non-African way. I try to take the African approach of assessing culture, even as it pertains to what I identify as being an African, what I identify with the extension to Israel, right? Or Israelite pre-exilic culture. All right. And with that, I'm done. I'm going to sign off, family, because I have another engagement that I need to do while I have the time to do it. But I hope that information, everything that we shared in here was valuable. I'm going to get into the direct democratic social structure, and I'm going to show again that as well and why that's important. But before I go, let me show you guys a book before you go, so you can get a taste of where I'm going at in the next video, right? I'm going to show you this book that's extremely, extremely relevant to what it is that I'm sharing with you guys, right? All right, let me show you this book. And then we're going to get into the direct democratic social structure, right? So let me show you this book real quick. And this book's helped to understand oral tradition as it pertains to ancient Israel. It's a very, very great read, very excellent read, okay? So let me show you this book real quick. Okay, here it is. All right, so this book right here, and again, once you read these articles that I just read to you, because I have a lot of those articles from different cultural perspective, and the people that are writing these articles are people who are ethnically connected to the subject that they're writing on, subject matter that they're writing on. All right, this book right here is called Oral Tradition in Ancient Israel by Robert D. Miller II. Excellent, excellent, excellent read. Excellent read. All right. And when you go to the breakdowns of it, oral formulation or formulacism in Old Testament study, the bathos of the oral formulaic school, models for biblical literature, literacy, and orality in pre-exilic Israel, what lies behind the written towards identifying the oral in the Old Testament, and the epilogue, orality, and historicism, which is probably the most important part of this book, and the conclusion. All right. So when you go through this, you can actually, you know, when you read it, there's so much stuff in here, man. It's excellent. And again, the sensitivity of analyzing the oral tradition of what's capsulated in ancient Israel is done by the author when you look at it from this perspective, when you're trying to be culturally sensitive to how the written got put together, what inspired the written. It's that simple. So now I'm going to have an engagement where I'm going to talk about contradictions or something along those lines. And what I want to show is that some people are not culturally sensitive to the individuals responsible for putting the information in the form that it is today, because they are either one disassociated with that chronology, right? Or that time and space in which those events happened, and or their perspective of it is to automatically disqualify the oral tradition contained in the text and write it off as being contradictory, write it off as being lies when there's mythos in the text There's legends in the text. There's historicity in text. The text has all these various layers, and it's been identified by scholars for centuries. There's nothing that's new. You understand what I'm saying? It's just that once you admit to that, once you admit to the oral traditional nature of the text, once you admit to the redactions made to the text, then can you better analyze it for its historical value and its cultural value. When people do not take that approach, they are being disingenuous, maybe not intentionally, but disingenuous, because they're trying to rate it according to Western Eurocentric perspectives, right? And that, if we're going to try to get back to that indigenous state, we have to then disseminate this understanding to the people within our community, all right? So with that, family, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of y'all that joined the chat. I don't know if I missed anybody when y'all was doing the whatever you was putting in the chat. Yes, so Another just commented in there, so I'm going to carry that over now. I hope he heard everything that I said, because this information that I just shared, I'm going to preface before we get into the questions, right? And he's been doing a lot of interrogations lately. You feel what I'm saying? So anyway, shout out to the people of the book in the building. Henry Campbell in the building. Shout out to my brother Shama Talmid in the building. If you have a question, Henry Campbell, email me at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. And I'll do my best to address it there. Yes, oral tradition is always first and in order. And again, thank you everybody for your support, all right, and for tuning in, all right? All right, family, so Henry Campbell, that's an excellent question. Email me. I want to address that in my upcoming lecture where I talk about Yahoo and why I chose Yahoo as opposed to Yahoo, or why I don't use, I mean, I use when I read the literature, Yod Hey Wafe, Yehovah or Yahweh. Some people say it's Yahweh, Yehovah, Yahweh. And I don't use those terms because I like to, I mean, I can when talking about the literature, but I like to use the most antiquated form that I was able to discover, which is Yahoo. And I give you a methodology behind why I came to the conclusion of saying that that is the most antiquated way to say the personal name of the divine. All right. All right, family. So I'm done. All right. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate your peace and shalom.